All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Cannaforce 2020. My name is Bevan, and we're here live in Richmond, Virginia. And this is our pilot or our first Cannaforce event. And so I'm really grateful that everyone who has helped us, who has came and gave us so much support here locally and online. I'm really grateful for everything. And so I'm really excited to just have a good day, talk a lot about marketing, health, compliance, and look forward to helping you guys grow your business, especially small businesses who are struggling right now because of COVID. There's many things that's happening in the industry, and I'm excited to just share my thoughts, and hopefully this will inspire you to continue to grow as I have been doing over the past 5 years. How you doing, Mike?
Good. And I'm Mike, and I just want to say thank you everybody for being here also. This is our inaugural Cannaforce live event, and we've just established and are going to share with you today some few basics about the industry, some education, stuff like that. Maybe if you have no prior knowledge, this will kind of give you a little taste for what's going on. But feel free while you're viewing this, if you're viewing it live, to write some questions in the YouTube chat. If not, always feel free to reach out to us over at cannaforce.com with any questions or anything you'd like us to talk about in the future in these lives.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I just wanted to start off by telling you who I am for those of you who don't know me, right? And so every stage of my life, I've been educating. At 20, I created some training manuals, and I was in the US Navy, basically right on the street in Norfolk, Virginia. I was stationed on the USS Wasp for 4 years, and I was also in boot camp in the cold of winter in Chicago. It was really cold, and I was also on the USS Wasp in our berthing, right, in the barracks, you could say. And so one of the guys that's on the in boot camp with me was also in the same ship with me in the same department as me. So everything happens for a reason, and so I'm really excited to share my story. And so when I was in the military, I like to learn. I got really well versed into engineering, and so my supervisors asked me to implement training manuals, and so I started doing that. My training manuals became one of the go-to for educating the troops. And then when I started doing digital marketing in 2005, I was in Boston and also New York, and I got to create a platform for interns and new workers, because what we realized that traditional education doesn't work, right? It teaches just the basics, but when people came to us, they didn't really know what they were doing. So we created a platform and to teach, to do videos. And so that led me into just everything I'm doing now. And I've been doing digital marketing since 2005. I work for SNL, for Columbia University, Beth Israel Hospital. And so in the process, I was able to learn as much as I can about digital marketing, which I'm doing now, and also continue the education. And so at my last job in Florida, I helped create a platform where we got to educate the doctors, which educate the consumers and the patients. And that same platform is what I'm using today for CBD How. Not the same platform itself, but the principle behind it, right? And so this is what I've been doing here for the last 5 years. And so I hope that will help catch up on who I am. You can also check me out on Instagram, YouTube, etc., for to learn more about me and the team. And Mike, can you share a little bit more about yourself, please, real quick, like your background when it comes to hemp?
Yeah, as far as hemp, I've been dealing with that probably since about 2016, researching that, working with doctors at the Mayo Clinic, chiropractors, different people in the industry as far as the scientific aspect of it. I've worked with several companies. My knowledge lies somewhat in compliance to rules and regulations, previously as a federal agent and on one of the U.S. Attorney's Healthcare Task Force. So kind of taken interest in the investigative part of that, or the new laws, new compliance, how things are changing, how that gets interpreted, that kind of stuff. You know, onto the show. I mean, I could talk about myself all day, but we're here to teach you guys, so, and let you guys learn everything. So if you have any questions for me, of course, my mic is moving. In the future, reach out on Cannaforce and we can answer anything you need. So.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. So over the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to talk about hemp marketing, right? So COVID was one of the best things that happened for me, in the sense that right before COVID, I was on a plateau. I was sky-rising, because these events that we're doing now was something that was really important for me. So the guys here in Richmond who's helping me do all this right now, they actually came out to our B-Plan event. And B-Plan is our nonprofit. It's a 501c3. On leap year, February 29th, we held an event on CBD in San Diego. And so the guys, but 4 or 5 of them came out here to San Diego, supported me. And so here I am in Richmond, supporting them and building something really big. And so this is when it comes to marketing and networking. It's important to build a relationship with people. I find that the last 5 years has been wonderful for me. I left Florida because I realized that at the time, Florida laws and regulations were not up to par, and I wasn't learning fast enough. So I took the leap of faith and I went to California, and I was there in 2018 August until COVID. And that's where I got to just learn as much as I can. Went to visit farms, events, network so much, where it lead me to where I am right now. So those of you who really want to get into the industry, now is the best time. And I'm going to help teach you how to do it. And so everything I've learned over the past 5 years is what I'm going to give you in return. And everything I've been building has not been for me, it's been for you. And I'm getting ready to show you some of the things that I've been doing to help you. I always talk a lot on Instagram to follow me on my other platforms. And so I'm going to show you my screen so that you can understand some of the things that I'm doing for you. All right. So what we have here is my education platform. And this is CBD.how. This is what my brainchild from like 4 years ago. I had a vision while I was using the plant. I was meditating, doing yoga, and I had some visions of where I wanted to go and where I knew I was going to be, and in 2020, and everything came to pass. And so this page right here is all organic followers. I've never bought any followers or paid for any ads to run my platforms. And so I have 8,791 on CBD.how, and you see a lot of posts. 90 to 95% of what you see in my network is being built by me. Staying up 2 o'clock in the mornings, Friday nights, 4 o'clock, Saturday nights, 4 o'clock at night, building, because I knew at this point, everything will be returned to me, because I've been given for free. This last month, I finally got, like a nice $500 payment to myself after like months and months of just doing for others, right? And I say this because you have to give and receive. If you're gonna start a business, it's not gonna take off right in the beginning. I say have a 3 to 5 year plan at a minimum. You can do it faster if you have the free time and you have the money. But if you work another job, now is the time to start creating and have a 3 to 5 year plan, because there's money in the cannabis industry. Hemp itself is worth trillions of dollars because it's medicine, right? It's as we get older, we're gonna need medicine. Think about all the studies that's being done right now on immunotherapy, on those of you who have cancer. CBD is being used to treat that. One of the things I learned when I was in high school is about mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of our body, right? And so what is being shown so far is that CBD is able to help the mitochondria be more effective in restoring homeostasis in the body. And so when you sleep at night, it's really great for you to take CBD. So that way it works through the night, help cells as you regenerate and as your body is resting and doing all the work. This is the perfect time to take CBD. So just some tips here. But this is why I'm really excited, because this is a trillion dollar industry and I really want to help you guys. So this is what I've been building organically, 8,000 something in a year and a half, give or take. My main account on here, 42.9K. It's like, again, organic. Yeah, and I have more posts. Some of these are hidden, but this is where I started Instagram in 2017, and I've just been going, posting, 2, 3, 4 times a day on this platform, YouTube, Facebook. I've been everywhere, and so this is what I've been doing, and you can do it as well too. It just takes time, it takes effort, and we have a team and to help with that as well. And so, Cannaforce, we started this, Mike, I believe this was in, was it March, right? We've been planning in February, but I believe this was in March when we started this, correct?
Yeah, it actually is right after trade show. Yep, March is correct.
Yeah, so this is what we've been growing, taking out time, showing stuff on how to succeed using Instagram stories, what to post on social media. To build a successful hemp CBD brand, it takes time and effort. There's content on here, and we have stuff that's recorded that hasn't been posted yet. We've been building our team over during COVID time. And we have a digital marketing team now, which is helping us go to the next level. So we've been busy behind the scenes helping those of you. So when you get a chance, you can always go and follow. This is our 99 package. We'll talk about it later. For those of you who want and need a website, and it's a turnkey operation for you. All right, so my favorite thing in the world here is my Reddit channel, and Reddit is called CBD Info. And so this was where I got started in the CBD industry. Here is where I came to learn everything I needed to about CBD. And because, like I said, I've been educating. Back in MSN days, I've been creating communities for others. And so I like doing message boards, forums, and this is just up my alley. And it's something I've been doing. I started with partners, but I have the drive, like this is important for me. Hands are, I came for CBD. I have osteoarthritis. I have torn ligaments. I have bad back, and I have like suffering pain right now in my neck. And so I'm on hemp, and it's helping me like be here right now. I have anxiety. I have depression, and I have really bad stage fright. So me doing these events right now is something that I would never been able to do 4 years ago until I found CBD in 2016. And so this is where I got started. And so the reason why I want to show you this and why it's important is it's a community. And for those of you who are watching, who are brands or want to get into brands, these 19.1K members right here. These are all organic. And so, like I said, I created this one here in March 17, 2017. This is for you. We have so many users here. So like when I say go to our Reddit sub, I really mean go to our Reddit sub, ask questions, introduce yourself. There's rules here. You can't do any links to your website, but you put your website name. You can't put any prices. But there's a lot of information here you can follow. And so the reason why I say this is 19.1 right here, like one of the things I posted last week is what makes you happy when it comes to your business, right? With 500 monthly subscriptions from users help you make money. So in Cannaforce, we have resources for merchant accounts, white labeling that we've been vetting, CPAs, right? Insurance. And so if you can white label product, right? I even have a gentleman right here who can also, he's local to DC and Richmond, who can help you white label, Georgetown Hemp, right? And so if you can white label your product and make $20, let's say, off each product, $20 times 500 monthly customers, that's 10 grand a month. Is 10 grand a month able to help you survive? 10 grand a month end up, once you hit that number, it's just a matter of scaling up, right? Because people talk. If you help somebody's grandmother, what do you think happens when she starts telling her kids, her kids tell their sisters, the aunts, the neighbors. All of a sudden, that 500 becomes 1,000. It becomes 2,005, but 6 years from now, maybe faster. It depends on how fast you move, right? So the numbers are there. It's not about trying to get to 1 million people. It's about starting small and then working your way up. And so the reason why I'm here, I want to show you some things right here live. So I'm very honest. Like people tell you, like they tell people, like I haven't made money doing this right here. This event right here is how I'm gonna make money, right? How I'm gonna help you guys in return, and you guys help me by using our services. And so I like to show you what's real. I'm always honest. Like the days when I'm struggling, I say it because it's a struggle, and you're gonna need help as you go. And so these numbers here, this is how many people went on Reddit, in the last 7 days. 41,000 clicks on a Reddit sub every month. 500 out of this right here can help you, right? So the platform is here for you. See the views here, 1,000 page views, unique 600, 500, 400. These are people that come here, and these every day I'm adding 20, average of 20 people. I'm subscribing to the Reddit sub right here. So this is a really good tool for you to help you grow your business. And also we have Instagram as well. Uniques, you see the numbers here. And this is automatic, right? Imagine once my team is able to come here and optimize this properly with SEO and to post regularly. You see the guys on screen, Robert, Crystal, Robert, Rich, who's not here today. We have a team that can come here and populate the content, which I've been doing, and I'm unable to do now right now. So these numbers will grow as we grow our team. And so 784 people subscribed last month, 180 people subscribed last 7 days. And so yeah, this is what we built is for you. I'm really excited to show you everything and to just grow with you guys. So Mike, get any thoughts or questions?
Let me get my video back up here. No, exactly what you're talking about. I guess we're going to talk about a little bit about marketing, but I was going to say your products, if you're a small company starting out, they're not going to sell themselves. You can't just expect to create a website and have a great price and your products to magically walk into customers' homes. That's where it comes down to marketing, and especially organic marketing. Interacting with customers. Right now, it's really hard. I would give you guys a bunch of suggestions about in-person type stuff to do, but right now that's not possible in most states, and probably not the wisest choice. But interacting like Bevan does every day, and having your own groups and interacting with customers where you can answer questions, they can freely ask things. That's what's so important. Anybody can put up a web page or an Instagram page, but if you do not engage with your customers and your community, and especially if you're a local brand, you'll want to engage with your local community. So there are things such as Facebook, groups, things like that for your local areas. So engagement is the key here. Get in to your customers' heads, answer their questions, just be available and make your presence known out there. A new company, it's not going to advertise itself. It's not going to sell itself. It takes a lot of work. And between everybody here, Bevan mentioned on the team, we have a lot of experience with those different kinds of techniques and ideas and resources and all that stuff to help you guys out. So that's kind of my short spiel on that. But we talk a lot more about that over on the Cannaforce website. Like Bevan said, there's a ton of white labeling resources, insurances. We're adding more each week. We're going to be populating actually in the next 2 weeks, quite a few more. So we have the resources. If you want to start a business, like he said, now is the time. A lot of you are working from home right now. A lot of CBD companies and hemp businesses also are part-time jobs for people. They have other full-time gigs, other lines of work. Some are doctors, some may be a housewife, some may be a student. Like there's the whole gamut. So right now, a lot of you are working from home, and if you ever had an inkling to even get involved in this industry, now is the time to start.
Yes, now is the time to start. So one of the things we're doing here locally is a class. You see behind me, we have some letters and words: growing hemp, creating hemp products, hemp marketing, customer service. We'll be teaching here locally to help those of you here in the area who wants to start your own business. And then this starts at November 30th. It's going to be 8 weeks, 2 weeks off in the middle of December. And it's going to be Monday and Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. and then Saturday from 10 to 2. We'll also be showing you hands-on plants we have here locally, which we'll also be showing again tonight. And we're going to teach you guys how to grow. And so I find that's important because if you're going to be selling CBD and hemp, you need to know the plant. Nothing worse than, let's say I want to get into NASCAR, right? And if I don't know how the car works, if I don't know like how to switch gears, why am I in the industry? So the same principle here, just like with anything, there's options for you to learn about the plant and from A to Z. It's just the basic as possible, but it's 8 weeks. It's long, 6 to 8 hours a week, but it's going to be the key points is going to be easy for you to understand. So that way you can learn as much as possible. And this is from all the knowledge that we've been gathering. And so I find that's important to know. That way when you talk to a customer and they ask you a question between, hey, what's the difference between full spectrum, broad spectrum, isolate? You can say, well, full spectrum has all the cannabinoids. And one of the things that I always tell people is, I'm from the Caribbean. And so I grew up as a community. The neighbors fed me. My aunts and them fed me. And so I look at cannabinoids as a family, right? You have THC, which is the one that gets you high. That's the father. He's high strung. CBD is the mom. She's more nurturing, so she calms down with CBD, right? And then you have the kids and cousins, which is all the other cannabinoids: CBC, CBG, CBN, THCV, THCA. And so together, that's full spectrum. Anybody tells you full spectrum has no THC, they're lying to you, point blank. And you tell a customer that, they end up getting drug tested, fill a drug test, and they come back and sue you. That's your business right there. So it's important to learn things. Broad spectrum is a term that says doesn't have THC. Actually, THC is there. It's just diluted so much that it's undetectable. And so I like to tell people that, like, never say it doesn't have a THC, just not detectable. If you want something that without THC, you want to look for isolate. And isolate is just silicon crystals, white, tastes like cherry. And that's 99.9% CBD. One of the things I've always been saying here in the industry, which we'll learn later on, is that it's going to be CBD itself, the molecule, the compound is going to be regulated by the government and GW. There's things happening, which we'll be talking with Mariah later on in the show. And so this is important for you to understand. And this is why the class is here. And this is why CBD how here. This is why we are here, to help you be as successful as possible, right? And like Mike says, it's important to get out there. Like, I've been running around for the past 5 years, building and connecting with people. Let's say, for example, here in Richmond, if you, how do I put this? So some people buy herb from somebody down the street, right? And let's say you know that person. You say, hey, I started a CBD line of flowers, right? Would you mind selling the flower to your family? Let's say that person said yes. They end up selling, the other stuff plus the herb, which is legal, the hemp, to whoever they would normally buy from. So most times it's probably going to be somebody older, right? In the 40s, 50s. And you can get them to buy the product, right? And which in turn, they can either mix it with the THC or by itself. I have no judgment here, but that's one way of you getting out there and connecting with people. Because like I said, those of us who first started, people were stressing out a lot. And so weed, marijuana, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, was numbers was really high. Millions of dollars was being sold in the legal states. And so we don't know what happened in the black market, but I think it's probably higher, right? And because people stressing, People are have anxiety, depression. And so what we want to do is take them away from just buying on the street to a legal plant, which is hemp. And as dispensaries come along, we look forward to giving you the medical marijuana. The one thing that I'd like to share is that there was a study done a few months ago that showed that some of the products at the dispensaries was just the content of THC was so high that it really didn't help you when it came to pain management. You just get really high, and some people just end up sleeping, right? So the goal here is to give people really good, clean medicine at optimal percentages. So one of the things we're doing here to grow is growing naturally as possible. So Bob Marley and those that follow him and before him, the products that they smoked isn't what we smoke today, right? It wasn't so high in THC. It was more organic. It was actually higher in CBC, right? And CBDC is really good for the body. It does so much wonders. And that kind of plant that Bob Marley was smoking, you see how enlightened he was, right? Can you imagine what that can do for us? And so this is where we want to give really good medicine where it's maybe averaging 5 to 10% CBD. I would love to see 2% here in Richmond in THC, which is that's considered marijuana. And we know that regulation is coming here. New Jersey just regulated. New York is coming, and Virginia is coming as well. So it's happening, and so we want to give people options, and options is what the guys here, as you see, I'm a sugarhead. It's called choices, right? And so these are the guys are helping me build this platform for you all to be successful. So those of you in other states, please give people options, help them grow. And so if anybody have any questions, please let us know. Our team is moderating also on YouTube, also here in Zoom, so they can send the questions. And those of you here locally, if you have any questions, please raise your hands, and so I can see and then answer any questions. And we have about 2-3 minutes before we get into CBD insurance.
And I just wanted to comment too, if you guys are going to start growing hemp, but not at the program there, but like on your own home and things like that, just be aware that you do, well, especially if you're going to be reselling as a business, you do need a hemp license. It will be looked at just as stringent by the law enforcement officials as cannabis would. They're not going to take the time to differentiate and test that plant and send it off to a lab. Most states don't have the testing capabilities at this point. That's why it's still, you hear these stories of a semi truck of 10,000 pounds of hemp pulled over, drivers held for 2 months, then hemp given back because they finally tested. So just be aware there's a lot of guidelines and compliance issues to go by when you're doing that yourself, if you're going to be starting it as a business, and we can help you with that. And I was going to tell Bevan earlier, you mentioned you moved out of Florida. Now they have like the most stringent guidelines, and weekly they have their cannabis board and such have, weekly seminars for the businesses. So some of these states we thought, were pretty lenient before, they're really tightening up. So the industry is changing daily. It's changing weekly. Laws can change daily in a state. You may not know your smokable hemp was legal today and tomorrow it's not, or the percentage of THC may change. So each state is different. There are federal guidelines, but that's one of those things where continuing education about the plant is number one importance, but you also need to follow up on your state laws and licenses as far as if you're a business going to be retailing the product.
Yeah, and that's why you got to join the Cannaforce because you get updated on what's going on. We have like my list of newsletters I get. Like I have like 1,000 unread messages in one of my inboxes because I get so much information. And so this is why join the Cannaforce. Our team is there to give you what's the regulations, what's going on here locally in the classes, which we'll be teaching, and also online. We'll be talking about the regulations as well, but you have to stay up to date on what's going on. Just like any industry, that's why you have to go network and go to events and network with people, find out what's going on. COVID now makes it all about being online, And so hopefully you'll get information. One of the things we've seen in some of the other events that you pay thousands of dollars and you can get nothing in return. So the goal is to continue to do like real events like this, affordable, and you get real information and not just buy my product that I have to display and I don't talk to you anymore. One thing it's always say is customer service, right? Customer service is not just between you and the customer, but you and the broker, you on your lawyer, you on whoever you're working with has to have that relationship because it's a team, and we all cannot do it by ourselves. I know I can't, and so it's 12:30, so we're gonna get into the importance of CBD insurance. So, gentleman who's supposed to be here wasn't able to make it, so Mike and I are just gonna just talk about why it's important to have insurance. Um, and so, like any other business, insurance is important. For example, CBD, is considered a food product by the FDA. Well, that's what we're trying to get it because a lot of people use it in their mouths, and so anything that goes in the mouth, somebody can get sick, right? They say there's a bad batch that happens on a farm or something, and just magically, something happened. Or like in Florida, there was a lot of lead results that was happening. If somebody gets sick, insurance is going to help you cover it. So prices, it's not going to be $500, right? It's going to be a couple thousand,
It's
maybe
gonna
what,
be
$3,000.
it starts at about 5,000 for a
Go ahead, Mike.
retail it starts at about $5,000
What
for
year?
a year for a small store or business with a few products. I mean, you can have quite a few products, but and it drastically changes when you start offering smokable hemp. That's just like any other industry. It's considered a little more high risk, so it's going to raise your costs if you're selling smokable hemp. I don't think it's going to double your cost by any means, but I know when I talked to Mark, he wasn't able to make it today. It started, every case is different, obviously, with insurance, just like your car insurance. It depends on factors and things like that. But on average, around 5,000, maybe a little less. But I know when you add in smokable hemp, it adds on a little bit more. But you know what? It's better to have the insurance than when than when something happens and you don't. You're paying that attorney, 350 to 500 an hour, and that court case takes up 100 hours of work. Look, you're looking at like a $35,000 bill, so it's very important to have.
Yeah, it's very important. And one of the things that we have at Cannaforce is recall plans, which is important to have for you in case something happens. And so insurance is important. It's very important. If you're going to get into business, you want to be proper. One of the things I've seen in being in California, a lot of gray market. People are just winging it. They don't have insurance, and thankfully nobody has gotten sick yet. And hopefully that nobody gets sick going forward. But if something gets contaminated, you want to make sure that you are able to cover your ass. Because if you're spending that kind of money to grow your business, it's something going to help your family, the next 10, 20 years, take it on really well. You want to do things the right way. And so I highly recommend you do not get your, go out and do great in the gray area and not have insurance. And then hopefully insurance will come down, in time. I believe it
Yeah.
will. And hopefully third-party companies like manufacturers will at some point bring insurance. So if that happens, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was going to mention, my train of thought just killed. But with insurance, one thing to look at, if you're not producing your own products, this is one thing Mark was telling me, you need to get with the company that's producing the products for you, make sure they have an insurance policy, and many times they can add you onto their policy since you're a client of theirs. So that's one thing you need to look for. When you're looking for your white label, you need to make sure that that company is properly insured and things like that, because in all reality, that's who's making your products. You got to make sure they're covered before you're covered. So
Yeah, that's important. So and like Mike was saying, I want to go back on a thought Mike was saying that Florida is very strict. Indiana is also strict. South Carolina is a little strict. And so as the regulations come forward, it's not a required yet, but we think the insurance, once the White House and that the FDA has their regulations, which is being worked on, now that the election over, we feel that sooner than later that the regs is coming, and so and insurance hopefully will be like a requirement for that. If not, just get it if you can. And like we said, just plan it out. Just take your time. This is something that is 3 to 5 years. It's not something that you want to rush out because you don't want to just like some of the people we've seen just start so fast and now they're out of business because they weren't planning properly.
With insurance, I believe it's just like the auto insurance when I was talking to a couple of them. You don't have to pay it all up front in a lot of cases, quarterly, some of the companies accept monthly. There's only a few large providers of the insurance right now because it's a newer industry. It's still considered high risk. It's still along the lines, it is still the cannabis plant. But hopefully rates will be dropping just like anything else. As it gets more popular, there's more business, the rates will be able to drop. So it's available. Don't be scared like, oh, I got to drop $5,000 right now to sell, one product of CBD oil. You can spread that out over payment and things like that. So we're going to be adding some more insurance resources also into Cannaforce that should be able to help you out. You can get some different rates, but again, we can't give you a set price because everything, as Mark said, it's all tailored to your individual product line, your store, what you sell, this and that. But it is available and it's highly recommended you do participate in purchasing insurance.
Yeah, and for some of those of you who are here locally who want to get into the edibles, that may end up being a little more risky. I feel like smokable. So if you're gonna start off, usually start off with 1 or 2 products, right? Because then even if you start like at a really good company, a small company, you can white label, not just a big company, but there's small companies who can white label for you. The chances of having a lower cost for insurance is probably going to be preferable with some well-resourced companies compared to doing edibles yourself. And like Mike said, flowers. So that's one of the thoughts. Just want to make sure that those of you who've been asking about making your own products, and those of you I know who are watching, who I talk to, make your own products in your kitchen, I highly recommend going to a facility. There's places you can rent, especially now. A lot of warehouses and places are empty because people are not using them. So you can go rent clean kitchens, and you have your stamp of approval right there to say, hey, I'm doing it in a clean facility, and you show the insurance company, which will help you knock off some of the dollars than if you're doing it at home. And as we've seen, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, I don't think they're going to probably insure you if you're making your products at home. So you're going to need to rent out. Some people call it craft cottage law, clean kitchen, but it's the same things like a lot of your meal prep companies will use. You can rent out by the day, the month, the week, that kind of stuff. So definitely, if you're going to make edibles and drinks, which that's one thing we may go into later, maybe not. There's different laws federally versus state. For example, I believe as it stands in like Nevada, your CBD edibles can only be sold in licensed cannabis dispensaries. You see a lot of products and gummy, like you see all this stuff and drinks, waters and chocolate bars and stuff available in stores. But each state has different laws on this. Like Washington State, I believe they still have the no edible CBD policy they had previously. So you need to check with your state. That's one thing with insurance too. If federally you're not allowed to put this stuff into food products on the federal law, it may affect you able to get insurance. So that's one of those things you want to be very careful of. Once you obtain insurance and they know what products you're carrying, don't try to sneak in other things like on your website or sell them like, oh, we sell tinctures and topicals. But look, we have some pre-rolls over in this section. Like, don't do that. You'll lose your insurance. There is a database. You'll get on the naughty list and you're not going to play again in the industry. So at least legally.
So, Mike, I have a question, Mike. So, talk about the vape and what's going on with licensings in Nevada and Vegas, and then what your thoughts on how that would apply to insurance because vaping is kind of like on the same level, technically, as smoking.
Yeah, vaping's considered super high risk. Also, it's not so much that the products have been bad. There was all those vaping illnesses that wasn't from hemp and CBD properly produced products, but you guys saw it all over the news. Vitamin E, acetate cut, this, that. Now they're coming up with a lot of people are using the I'll use a nice word, less expensive cartridges. And when the metals that were in there were heated up at 3.3 volts or higher, I think that's what most of them start at, it would release some things that weren't so good for your lungs. So with insurance and vaping and everything else, you can get, there are companies that insure vapable products. Absolutely. The price is going to be higher. Those laws are constantly changing. That's one of those things. So if you're on a limited budget and you're getting into this industry and you're going to do it the right way with the insurance, I would stick with the tried and true products that the laws don't change as much, like Delta 8 vape, hemp derived. Tomorrow it could be gone. Today it's here. Like, do you really want to invest all your money into that kind of stuff? Or vaping when it's so controversial? You can do it, but your rates are going to be higher on. And it's the same thing, Bevan, like with smokable, anything inhalation into the lungs, combustible or vaped or convected, it's heating up, it's going into your lungs, it's going to raise your rates quite a bit. So it's just one thing to consider. Talk to the insurance people first. It's a little bit more. Just so you know.
And so just go to Cannaforce, like I said again. We have resources for the insurance. You can message Mark directly there. And we've gotten some really good rates from individuals there, including lab testing for $300 for full panel. And that takes you below weekly. Actually,
Under 300.
I think it's 297, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah, it's like 292, 290, somewhere between 290 and 300 for a full panel for your oils and stuff. Now, if you are selling hemp flower, and that's a huge industry, you can get full panel testing for under 300 also on your hemp flower. And that's with it's a lab that tests even clients internationally. It's ISO certified. So in insurance too, Mark, I know, works with multiple companies. So you're not just limited to one choice, of CBD or hemp or insurance like that. So yeah, but those are the resources you want to use, because we've vetted these resources. We know these people are real. We know they do business with clients. We know the lab. I know them personally. They're amazing people. They're one of the best in the nation. And I don't think you're going to be able to get a better price unless you go with somebody who may have a lab test equipment in their kitchen doing it for you. And let me tell you what, just back to lab testing really quick. That's going to be very important for your insurance. You're going to have to show those on your websites. And if you have a retail store, you're going to have those on hand for insurance. So when you go to get the insurance, make sure you have certificates of analysis or COAs for your products. They're going to be looking for those, and you're going to need those for insurance. So don't think you can get by without doing it to save a few bucks. You can't.
Yep. So I hope that the portion for insurance really helped you. Like we said, Mark couldn't be here, but if you go to Cannaforce, and the business section is less than $20, $19.99 a month, right? And for the resources page with all the information, which will help support us. And so before we get to the next thing, I want to talk about Delta 8 real quick, since Mike brought it up. And those of you who want to get into Delta 8, Delta 8 is, people talk about it as like a legal Delta 9. If you're on Shopify and you want to sell Delta 8, I don't recommend doing it. We had one of our really good friends, his colleague lost her account on Shopify for Delta 8. And so they sent a nice letter saying that it's not available, technically, because some people say the effects of Delta 8 mimics Delta 9. And so studies need to be done, right? I'm not going to say yes or no, but if you're going to sell the product, I recommend doing it on WordPress or some other platform that's not Shopify, so you can be safe. This is for all the long term. Things may change, but we want to make sure that you guys know what's going on and be ahead of the curve.
And one real quick thing I just learned the other day, or is reiterated, with your Delta 8 products, just a little fact, if your Delta 8 products are clear, in many cases, I'm not going to say 100% in every case, if you have clear distillate in your Delta 8 vapes, or your products are made with a clear distillate, it's they're not talking about how it's getting bleached. They're using bleach to clear it. It's usually a light pinkish color. So it's a new territory. It's not a new cannabinoid by any means, but it's new to the retail market for the most part. So newer products, just be careful with what you're selling because you could think this is the next hottest thing and it's going to make you $1 million. And then 10 days later, guess what? DEA puts a new law into effect. So just do your research or let us do it for you.
Yes, yes, yes. Please do your research. Research is very important. Without it, you're not going to survive. And like I said, we always here for you all to help you grow. So those of you watching live, please ask questions. Don't hesitate to ask questions. And we have a moderator team. They're ready to answer and forward anything for us. It's important for you to ask questions. That's how I learned for the past since 2016. A lot of you in the community, especially regular consumers, always ask me questions, and that's how I learn. Some of the things I've known, if I don't know it, I go search it up, and I'm able to help you back as well. So don't hesitate to ask questions. All right, so I'm gonna get ready to start the next video. Steve was kind enough to help us talk about CPA and finances. So Mike, can you just do a basic introduction, please?
Yeah. So Steve Higgins is an accountant here in Las Vegas. I think he gives a brief introduction about what he's done, but he's worked with everybody from your local or personal tax returns all the way up to multi-billion-dollar corporations. The dude's incredible. He knows the ins and out of accounting like the back of his hands. And normally he works with very, very large companies with large budgets, but we've been able to talk to him. I've known him a long time. We won't date ourselves here, but I've gotten him to come on and help you guys out if you need an accountant. There's nothing to worry about. This guy's one of the top accountants in the country, and he's willing to work with the smaller companies because of a personal relationship. So I did a little interview with him. It was sponsored, and he's going to, it's not too long. It's really the basics because, again, with insurance and accounting, everything comes down to very individualized plans to do that. Your accounting, there's not one simple price to do your books. It's going to depend on what you used, what kind of paperwork you keep, the size of your sale. There's a million factors. So I can't get into specifics, and nor could he, exactly what it's going to cost you to have somebody do your accounting. But in the long run, if you're a business and you try doing it yourself and you haven't had the proper training and things like that, and you think, well, I did TurboTax, pretty sure I can figure it out. You screw anything up and you get an audit, you're going to wish you paid the small fee to use an accountant versus doing it yourself when the audit time comes, and the tens to hundreds of hours of headaches you're going to have being audited and make sure all your stuff's properly. And then if they find a deficiency, you may get a fine, blah, 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 blah. So we highly recommend using an accountant for your business, just because they, just like Bevan and I, they keep up to date with compliance issues as far as tax laws in the industry. They keep up to date on all the new rule changes. They can get it done for you. They'll personalize a plan. Why not take one of the biggest headaches out of your business and give it to somebody else to do and not have to worry in the long run, am I going to get audited this year? Because if you do get audited and you had an accountant, a professional accountant, do your taxes, they're going to defend it for you with the IRS. So you're not going to have to sit there and pull your hair out, every night saying, oh, I got to return this paperwork. I got to do this. I got to do that. No, your accountant's going to do that for you. So it's going to save you a big headache in the long run and in the short term. So if you got the video, cue it up.
Before I cue the video up real quick, having a CPA, I think, is very important. So many of the small businesses that, like I said, in California, a lot of the gray area don't have CPA, don't even have the business license. And so it's very important. Things happen, they say debt and taxes are, guaranteed. So make sure you up and up. You don't want to wait 3 years from now and Uncle Sam come after you because of some small minor thing that you could have got fixed by a CPA.
Well, yeah, and 3 years down the road, that you might get an audit from the year that 3 years ago. And think about this industry; it's already looked at under a microscope, right? Because it's still, falling into that high risk kind of industry. A few years back, it wasn't legal, so there's a little scrutiny. So just my advice is to use an accountant. I mean, it's not going to cost you like $20,000 or so. I mean, it depends on the size of your company, of course, but to me, it's like an insurance policy. CYA, make sure you're taken care of, make sure your stuff's done properly. And the other benefit with the accountant is they know the write-offs, the special laws, the things you can do to save money. Sometimes you can save the money that it costs you to use the accountant just in the rules, tips, and trick. I'm not going to say tricks, the rules and laws that they know about that you can use to your benefit. So we all hear about certain people only paid in so much taxes this year, $750. You know, accountants are the ones that know these rules that allow you to do that. So instead of having to pay in at the end of the year on your business, you may be getting money back. You're not back, but lower your costs. So I highly recommend with the insurance and accountant. You might as well do, if you're going to do a business, do it the right way. Because at one time you get audited, you're gonna want to quit doing business. It's a huge nightmare. So cover yourself.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Typically, we get clients.
I think you need to rewind it. Yeah.
Yep, my bad.
I think we need audio.
More long run because we have to clean up the mistakes and the mess that has been made just from them not understanding the process or knowing what needs to be done. It gives you peace of mind if you use an accountant. We'll handle all the communication with an IRS agent, with the state agencies, kind of that interference for you.
All right. So that's what happens when you do things live. I keep getting. So I keep getting a message for everyone saying there's no audio. So I apologize for that. But we're doing this live, and I'm unsure what's causing the issue. So Mike, can you talk to them a little bit real quick while I try to figure this out?
It was working at the very end. The audio came back in right at the very end before you just popped up.
All right. So
do you want to try one more time?
live.
If not, I can go through the basics, but
All right, so.
Hello, I'm Steve Higgins with Higgins and Associates, the managing partner here. A little bit about us. I have 21 years experience in the accounting field. We handle small mom and pop shops up to billion-dollar companies. We do entry-level bookkeeping for some of them and outsource CFO services for some of the bigger companies. We do corporate tax returns, business tax returns, personal tax returns. We can help with payroll needs and just about anything accounting related. Some of the items you might need to set up your small business is a EIN number, your Secretary of State filing, city and local business license filings, sales and use tax setup, unemployment tax setup. And if you have employees, you're also going to need workers' comp insurance, bank accounts, credit cards, or you're taking them or using them, credit card processing, accounting software like QuickBooks, business insurance, and depending on the type of business structure, there may be additional things that are needed as well. If you need help navigating this process, our firm handles that, and we'd be happy to help. Using an accountant or doing it yourself, the benefits to both. Doing DIY is obviously cheaper, but it's more time consuming for you as a business owner, especially a new business owner. Usually you don't have that time and there's mistakes that are made, things that are missed that an accountant can help you find from the start. So using an accountant gets the job done right the first time. Typically we get clients who try to do it themselves and end up either making mistakes or not knowing where to go from there, and it costs them more in the long run because we have to clean up the mistakes and the mess that has been made just from them not understanding the process or knowing what needs to be done. It gives you peace of mind if you use an accountant. We'll handle all the communication with an IRS agent, with the state agencies, kind of let it interference for you. And we also know opportunities that can work in your favor, so you can take advantage of some cost saving strategies, both financially and especially tax saving strategies. Everybody knows there's a lot of accounting software out there, a lot of apps out there that say they can help and do invoicing, do payroll, do things like that. But in my experience working with businesses for a long time, the best is QuickBooks. There's a couple different versions. There's an online version which works to your benefit if you're looking for something that's web-based, you can access from anywhere. And there's also a desktop version that is a little more robust and probably more beneficial to your accountant. But both are good systems. QuickBooks, I think every small business needs to utilize QuickBooks to handle their financial picture, both from a financial standpoint, if you're looking for financing from a bank, and to help with your tax planning and tax preparation to save time and money in the long run. Some things that will help your accountant or tax preparer prepare your business for year-end tax planning and tax preparation are an income statement, a balance sheet, your last month's bank statement, usually December bank statement for the end of the year. Any prior year tax return that you might have that's available for the business. If this is your first year, then obviously you don't have that. The EIN letter from the IRS, so you know which tax type of business this is and how to properly file that return. Your Secretary of State documents, and again, depending on the type of business, and any other situations or unique situations that your business or you personally may be involved in, or the other documentation needed. Thank you for having me today and discuss some of the accounting and tax questions that came up. We're here to help. I know that starting a business or running a business from an accounting tax perspective can be confusing or scary for some business owners, and that's what we do. We're here to help, and we appreciate the opportunity to talk to you more. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us for more information or to just talk and see what options there are for you or what questions you may have. We can definitely help answer. We can play interference with the local governments, with the federal government. We know that you don't need that stress as a new business owner, and this is what we do every day. We also offer discounts to Cannaforce business members, so if you are a member, feel free to reach out.
All right. Hope that was informational. You can reach out to Steve anytime. He's also, like I said, in the Cannaforce resources page, and go to his website, higgins-associates.com. So, Mike, how was it though when you was talking to him? Was there anything that was more important for people to know when you had an interview?
Yeah, let me kind of reiterate some of the points because I know the quality of the video when it got processed didn't work out the best for the audio, so that was kind of muffled a little bit. Big thing that's going to help you as a new business owner, QuickBooks. 100%. I know this dude's used all the software in the world before in previous companies. He's ran software companies, he's ran bars, nightclub account, like everything. And it's all come down to, and I trust his word on this, QuickBooks. There's an online version and a hard copy version. You're able to share it. He prefers the hard copy version, but as a business, it's much easier for him also, as software goes, to use the online version of QuickBooks. You can download that and start keeping track of your stuff, on a daily to monthly basis. It's better to do it on a regular basis than at the end of the year have to put in, all your sales, all your inventory, all your write-offs, all that stuff. So keep up to date on that if you can. Schedule one, a certain time every week, same day, same time, so you get in the habit entering all your data into the QuickBooks. He doesn't believe that a lot of these apps, a lot of people use 20 different apps to manage stuff and this and that, and then you have to import data. Well, it may work for you, but it makes your accountant's job kind of like, I wouldn't say living nightmare, but a headache, and it's going to take up a lot more time. So if you can just do everything through QuickBooks, it makes it a lot easier for any accountant you're going to use, not just him. What else were some of the other main points we talked about? I don't know. Did you have any specific questions, Bevan, on that? Like, just throw out a few questions and I'll try to answer you.
Not really. I've learned my lesson from watching others, not from me personally, but others. So I always had a CPA since I started the business in 2016, because I had my own little business before. And so I always knew the importance of doing taxes. And so, like I said, debt and taxes. And so I don't want that on my end. So Steve does it for me. If you guys may be comfortable with somebody else, it's up to you, but we have resources there for you. And so we was talking about compliance earlier a little bit, and Florida. And so those tainted CBD, right? It was going on, I think it was February. I can't remember the exact month, but
yeah,
it was showing that
earlier in the year.
You're right. Yeah. They're showing that high amounts of lead in CBD products. This is why we said being in compliance, having a recall plan, insurance, and finding really good companies matters. And so
relab testing. If you're a white labeling company, you need to retest your products when you get them. Don't just go off the results that were sent to you, because a lot of times their results are just for a distillate product initially. And I think Bevan's leading into kind of why right now, but you need to relab test your products if you're going to sell them and do it the right way. So
yeah, and so the results of what happened was a relief, because it wasn't the CBD, but we're going to play a video so you can listen. We was Dr. Ben Chu, right, Mike? His name?
Yeah, Dr. Ben. Yep. He's from DB Labs, the company that we have in our resources page. This is the doctor over there. So you get to see a little bit, or at least listen to a little bit about testing and why it's so important. It may not be the plant, it may not be the CBD, but you'll find out in a few minutes.
All right. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have any questions?
No, I'm taking it all in.
All right. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much for showing up. Those of you who showed up here.
Yes, thank you guys in Richmond. Thank you so much for showing up live. It means the world to us to, actually finally be able to reach out and touch people. That sounded horrible, but reach out and talk to people who are sincerely interested in, not that online people are not, because 99% of the time they are, but it's so nice to see people taking initiative to learn, to move forward. Even if you don't start a business, you're just showing that you're a motivated person. There's not enough words to say thank you. So thank you to the online viewers, thank you to the in-person viewers, and thank you to everybody for keeping an open mind when this kind of industry has been, I don't know, we'll use the word shadow banned for so long. It's been kind of hidden. So I guess onto the video. Or we're frozen. Or I'm frozen. All right. Well, I think we're having technical difficulties right now, so we're going to be on a short break. And I don't see the people in Richmond on the screen. They should be back shortly. But just a little recap. The video that I believe Bevan's going to be showing you is relating to the reasoning behind why a bunch of products tested high for heavy metals, and it was not the actual CBD, the oil it was in, or the plant. It was something else. So let's see if we can get this back online, guys. Sorry about this. This is our first live. There's a bunch of bugs to work out, but let's see what we can do here quick. All right, I guess they're still having technical difficulties over there. Moderators, were there any questions? Does anybody who's watching the live have any questions about the industry whatsoever that we can kind of cover right now while we're waiting for them to come back up in Richmond and provide some of the other video interviews and things? Maybe I'm talking to myself. Let's see. Crystal, you can hear me. Okay. Crystal, are there any questions in the live or even moderators? Do you guys have any questions or anything we can talk about at this point? We're still waiting. I think maybe the internet went down over there. Who knows? Okay. All right. Hey, Rob, did you have any questions? Or did you have any comments? Do you want to pop open your mic there and talk if you want? Or Crystal, anybody? Have have a little interaction here. Okay, I think they're trying to get back online right now. Oh no, they said they lost internet.
Oh, no. Well, I was going to say, with where you're located, different areas obviously have like a different variety of what popular products are. Because a lot of people always say, well, with CBD, what's the best product or what's the most popular product? And I say that depends on the kind of experience or the kind of treatment people are going to want to receive. So, specifically with your area and where you're located, what would you say you think is the most popular product and why that is? And it's also important to, have people keep in mind, because a lot of times they have this idea, well, I just have to have this one product, this one thing, because it's super popular. But when it comes to the internet and you being able to reach people from across either a statewide, a nationwide, or across the world, it's, I guess, important to understand that different people are going to want different experiences from a product. But if you had to say what like maybe the top two most popular are specifically for your area, what do you think they are, and why do you think that is?
All right, I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, and this is going to be a kind of a hard answer because we're kind of in the mecca of the CBD and cannabis industry right now in the country. I will give you an example. Within a 1 block area, on each corner, hold on, 1, 2, 3. On all 4 corners, there's a CBD shop, like 3 miles from my house. So we have literally, I would say, over 100 CBD stores just in the city alone. But the most popular, and that comes down to what you're looking to get out of it. But I get where you're going with it. I would say the most popular product out there right now that's being used are oils, or what some people call tinctures. They're in the little dropper bottles. Here's a company, Cosset CBD. They have a dropper bottle. This is the kind of thing you put it under your tongue. That's really popular. And one quick thing about oils is for bioavailability, or how well your body's going to absorb and use it, you can. I highly recommend with oils, you drop it under your tongue and hold it for 90 seconds. Some people say 60. I say at least 90, and then you swallow it. So oils are kind of like the most popular, I think, nationwide too. The second most popular item, which I'm not a huge fan of, but get your CBD in however you can, are gummies. Everybody seems to want a gummy because it tastes sweet. Most of them are made with like high fructose corn syrup or sugars. There's a couple natural ones, but not many out there. That's the second most popular. And previously, vapable products were very, very popular until the whole scare on the news with the underground production, the marijuana vapes, or the kids getting the lung illnesses. That was very popular previously. But now, for example, in Nevada, if you're going to carry like a CBD vape product, you have a tobacco license, and you have to buy from the company has to have a tobacco license. So every state's different. So they've kind of cut down on that with the vaping here in Nevada, at least. But oils are number one. And then I would say gummies, but I guess in third place right now out here would be topicals, like creams, lotions, that kind of stuff. So you get the CBD through the oil, and a lot of people also have, maybe sprains, strains, migraines, all that kind of stuff. And the topicals really tend to help with that too. So.
Now, with the vape, it's interesting because here in Virginia, it's very popular.
Right.
Like the vaping, either for you to lower your nicotine reduction, but also for CBD. But there's 2 different kinds. There's the kind where you can get like the pre-cartridge that you screw in, but then they have it now actually in a strict CBD vaping oil. Is that something that's out there, or is that something that I only have access to here? Because there's like this, essentially it's a vape juice that is strictly CBD, and it's sold like in a juice form versus the cartridges that you could screw in. I just kind of want to get an idea, because that's here accessible to me in the state of Virginia. I don't know if it's because I'm closer to DC, where that CBD market up there, and also where there's slight recreational, like that's changing. I'm keeping an eye on the laws with that there. But is there anything like that over there that you've seen?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
curious.
So are you talking about the vape juices? I guess I call them juices. The liquids that you pour into like the batteries or the mods that they would use.
It's like, and it comes in different flavors, and
Yeah.
a lot
Okay.
of them are mainly full spectrum, but it's interesting because they have full spectrum for like the big bottle of the juice you can get, but the only way that you can get, I guess, like certain strands would focus on certain things, rather it be for anxiety relief or for pain relief or to help like calm you down or like to go to sleep, only come in the screw on in the pen. So I think that's interesting. I just didn't know like if you guys had stuff like that over there, or if that's mainly an East Coast.
No, it's all over the country. There's multiple companies that make the juices, and it's just it was predominant or prominent in many CBD stores, but then the health department came in and said, hey, you got to have a tobacco license now. So it's been around absolutely at all the trade shows I've been to and things like that. There's a ton of vape juices. I know you like the strain specific ones come in the cartridges. You can also get them in the juice. You're just going to need to look around online. A lot of the juices are made also from what I've seen, the ingredients that they'll put in the terpenes or flavorings, and then they'll use like a CBD isolate in there. Some of them even claim they're full spectrum, but they're not. So, take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, it's available nationwide. And I believe online you can order. A lot of the companies will sell them online. It's just in Nevada, we've been with the strict policies, they've kind of cut that down now. So it's hard to find that stuff unless you go to an actual store with a tobacco license, more so like a smoke shop, because a lot of the CBD stores just aren't getting that license. And to get the products now, the company has to have a tobacco production license, and a lot of them don't make other e-juices. Some do, but some of the companies are strictly CBD companies, and if they don't have that license, then you're not allowed to carry it in my state. But this stuff's readily available online. So yeah, to answer your question, it's a nationwide product. It's just not always displayed in stores so much because it's not always such a hot seller. So they don't, in other parts of the country, they don't know as much about hemp CBD as they do here on the West Coast. So I hope that kind of answered it.
No, that did. It's interesting because vaping's really, I don't know what it is, like it's ironic considering at least Virginia's history with tobacco, how
Right.
at least, me being born and raised here, you learn that. So it's interesting to see how vaping has come in and really replaced that. And then for vaping now to also be like, hey, because most vape shops now, almost every single one that you go to now has a CBD vaping counter and CBD flower, which is interesting because before it was more like you could get the CBD flower at like smoke shops, like you said, like that sell hookah, or like traditional tobacco or cigar shops. But now it's really unique to see how the vaping shops are also accommodating to this market, because a lot of them actually have to have a separate counter and you have to buy it separately because of all the licensing stuff. But it's just interesting because I walked into, the vape shop and there's just a CBD section now. So it's interesting it's becoming so popular in like any kind of market possible.
Yeah, it's moving more towards the East Coast. It's even harder to find good quality oils out there as of last year. So it's definitely moving. Same thing with Kentucky, was a huge tobacco producing state. Now they're having the hemp auctions out there and growing a lot of hemp. But we have Marcus here. I think we're still live on YouTube, I hope. We have Marcus here from M&M Merchant Services. He was going to talk a little bit today about how to obtain a merchant processing credit card and things like that. So I'm going to see if this works to let him in, and then we can go back to some more questions. Let me try to get him in here.
Also, YouTube is still live. I haven't had any questions come up on there, but yeah, let's get him in, and then
Oh, there we go.
Free to ask questions.
Marcus, I think your microphone is muted. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Okay, there you go. How you doing?
So pretty good. Hey guys, this is Marcus. Bevan, the internet went down over at the workshop in Richmond.
Oh.
So I'm not sure what questions he had for you, but if you want to give a little introduction, I let the people know that you're with merchant processing credit cards. Every business needs a credit card server. So guys, I'll let you introduce yourself, and Marcus and his company are also a member of our Cannaforce Business section, and you can reach out to them. And I will tell you this, he is in the industry, one of the fastest responding people I have met. Many people, you write an email or phone call and it will take like a week to get back to you or something. But this is one benefit why I will 100% endorse him, because if you do have an issue, you can contact him if you're working with him and he's going to respond to you. So on to you, Marcus.
All right. First of all, how everybody doing? Hope everybody's safe and families are doing well. I'm Marcus Walker. I own M&M Merchant Card Services Incorporated. I've been in this industry for about 21 years now, as far as the credit card processing goes. I've had my own company going on a little bit over 18 years now.
Okay.
We just got started in the basic credit card processing. I branched over into getting into the high risk field, maybe about, I've been in it maybe like real good about 13 and a half years now, almost 14 years. So we were one of the companies that spearheaded as far as getting into the marijuana industry. So we were one of the companies that were on the ground level pushing for that, and getting credit card processing into the marijuana dispensaries and things of that sort, medical marijuana and things of that sort. We're big in the high risk field, as far as CBD, adult marijuana collection agencies, things that are considered high risk clientele that your basic companies will not handle. That's where we come in, and we're very big on that end. Another thing is we basically, like you said, I try to give responses and my team try to give responses to having kind of like an open door policy where we actually reach out, because I know it gets kind of hard nowadays when you reach out to someone and basically it's only through email. Some companies don't even have phone numbers for you to reach them. You can only send an email and things of that sort, and they get back to you at their leisure. So we're pretty fast in responding, whether it's via text, or on social media, or via the phone. So we try to pick up, we try to respond in a timely manner, because we know if you guys have a problem, that means we have a problem. So that's our policy and how we try to respond to things. So if anyone has any questions, or when it comes back to me, we can get a little bit more in depth on what it takes to get started in the industry as far as processing.
Hey, I had a quick question. I know we're going to I think Bevan was going to go through this with you, but for somebody who has a new CBD business, hemp business, smoke shop business, what, industries that are considered high risk, what are some, let's focus specifically on CBD and hemp, I guess, at this point.
Correct.
What is some of the paperwork that they can get ready before contacting you to speed up the merchant processing to obtaining, I guess when we say merchant processing, guys, we're talking about being able to run credit cards, being able to run creded cards at your business. What are some of the documents or things that can speed up that process that they're going to have to get anyway, but it's going to save both of you time?
One of the main things is if you have been processing, or if you're brand new processing, they will take a look at, we'll need either personal bank statements or business bank statements if you are brand new. So if you are brand new, they look for like either 3 to 6 months of personal banking statements. If you have been processing before and you're switching over, have been shut down before, they look for the 3 months bank statements and process merchant, like 3 previous months merchant processing statements. The basic info that you will need is like a bank voided check, or a bank letter, signed bank letter on their letterhead, just stating your business name, address, the checking and routing number. You'll need your EIN documentation from the IRS, the paperwork, articles of incorporation or LLC information,
Okay.
Valid copy of a driver's license or passport. Certificates of analysis is big. So when people are selling things, they have their COAs on hand and ready to go. Your web requirements, they ask for like proof of domain ownership. Of course, the COAs. You'll need pictures of your products, of course. This is on your website if you're going to be processing online. Of course, you need pictures of your products. You must provide, all the product information. Your privacy policy must be posted on the website. You must have a refund and return policy on there. Whether you're just saying you have a 100%, return guarantee or refund policy, and basically on that, it's basically just stating, you can kind of set your own rules on it. It's just basically stating that a person has a buyer or consumer has a right to return or ask for a refund on something. Because I've had people that made a mistake and sent the wrong product, by mistake, something, it just has to be something where, because you can always make the correction, but you have to have something on there that if you send the wrong product, you just can't have no return, no, you sent the wrong product and it should be taken care of. So they're just saying you just have 100%, try to clear up the problems and things of that sort. You must have a shipping policy on there. As far as like, I know there are 4, I have to pull it. There are 4 states right now that for CBD, you're not allowed to ship to at all. And those cannot be listed. They have to be blacked out on your page as well. You have to have that disclosure on there, but also on your registry page, your checkout page, for which state and stuff, they can't even be listed on there.
Okay, so you just have whoever builds your website, or if you do it yourself on Wix or whatever, take out, like, let's say it's South
4
Carolina
states.
or whatever, you just have to pull out SC, so it's not possible for anybody to
even purchase.
Okay.
And then you must have your terms and conditions on there, and the Visa MasterCard logos must be on the site.
Okay.
And of course, one of the big things, you have your FDA disclaimer that must be on the bottom header of the page.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. Besides the application, once we get the ball rolling and things of that sort, but it's just about having things in order. We do have a listing of when we send out our applications and things, we do have a listing, a form that shows everything that we'll need, and also your website requirements. So you can kind of, whoever's building your site and things of that sort, you can pass it on to them, and you just know everything. So when they go back, underwriting goes and check the website, it's ready to go, and all things are on there, set and ready to go. And we have one, I'm sorry, just one more important thing here. Let me see, that has been causing a problem in the industry that a lot of people are having a problem with. They're going back and checking these things. Where they're doing most of the sales and products marketed for human consumption. They're cracking down on certain things where you can't use marketing terms like describing how to take it. You can't tell someone to take it orally. You can't have things like edibles and things of that sort on the website. So they're basically cracking down on that right now.
I think that's what we talked about earlier. So
yeah. So
what about okay. So let's say edibles at this point are kind of probably not a good idea on your websites, at least, because I know the federal law is different than state law. So I'm guessing these companies are looking at federal law because that Trump, it's all 50 states. But with flower, vapable, any kind of smokable or combustible plant material or vapes or whatnot. Now, are the rates higher? Is that harder to get certified to be able to get a merchant processor if you're selling smokable products? Or
I do have it's only a few banks that are doing it, that are taking those types of things. So we are in conjunction with 3 other banks that we don't have a problem doing smokable flower, shatter. I have people that are selling like growable seeds. So we pretty much, so these banks that we deal with, that they specifically deal in those. So takes a little longer to get done because it's more tedious and things of that sort, but we can get it done without a problem.
Right. So if a company just has 1 or 2 smokable products, it may be a good idea to not, I don't know, this is just my opinion, maybe keep selling your other products, and maybe that may be a hindrance if you're trying to hurry up and get a merchant process.
Get it going. Yeah, sometimes you can just add it later on. I'll be honest with you, sometimes, but it's just about the consensus of getting the merchant account up and going that they're so tedious on. And once you get it up and going, you can add things back and add things here and there.
But let your merchant processor know right before you add stuff. Don't just throw a smoke.
Right, correct. Let them know that you're adding and things of that, and they'll let you know exactly what can be added and things of that sort. But if you have like 1 or 2 smokable, I have someone that just had a vape product, and they had to pull it off in order to just get things going.
Right.
And then what I did, I ended up switching them over to another bank.
Okay.
Because they wanted to when we started, they only had one product on there.
Okay.
So they wanted to, up the product and get more various smokable products and things on there. So we just switched them over to another, which was good because they had a processing history then, which made it a lot easier. That I'm telling you, that makes it a lot easier. That she had at least 3 months processing Then she wanted to add more smokable products. It was easy to do that because she had a good processing history of 3 months that the other bank really didn't, and she could add whatever she wanted on there.
Nice. So
Yeah.
you mentioned a little bit about edibles. So is that kind of a no with most of the companies right now? Or
A lot of them, yes. A lot of them are like that. Now you have some, and that's the thing we have to watch out for. A lot of these companies that are not regulated to run these types of businesses, they'll bring it on. They'll bring you on. They'll have you process,
then they'll kill you.
and then they'll shut you down. They're just gonna make the money. Then they'll hold your funds that you have. When they get rid of shit, they'll hold those funds. But the thing is, they're just gonna make what money they can off of you, and then they'll shut it down. And
There's a-
then you're looking for someone. But then also you have on that record that you have been shut down. That's
Yeah,
the thing what I don't like. Yeah,
That's
that
no
they
good.
fool people like that. And some of them are placed on the TMF list, the terminated merchants file.
yeah, Elevon was a big one, the U.S. Bank subsidiary before, and they had so many people come on because they're gung ho, good rates, and then 3 months into it.
Yeah. And Mr. Bevan Finley, I had months before that, I gave him the heads up, and he did put out on there. People thought he was crazy and things, but I gave him a heads up maybe like 2 months before everything went down. And hey,
Can you hear me? I'm
Yes,
having
sir.
some trouble on my end. My camera's not working, and I had to reboot my computer. So I'm listening. Yeah, I'm really grateful for you, brother. For those of you who don't know, he's been instrumental into a lot of things I've been doing. Some of the information that we've been giving out, I'm really grateful. And so thank you for showing up here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the platform, man. You're doing a great job. You guys are doing a great job. You and Mike.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm not sure what I missed, but I do know that one of the things I want to just mention is that those of you who have small businesses, it's important, to work with somebody like Marcus to help you get out there. A lot of you who are selling locally, save up your receipts and things like that, so that way when you go to Marcus, you can say, hey, I have proof of the past 6 months working off the site. I don't have it online because I don't have a merchant account. That may help you be able to get a merchant account because you're showing sales. So that's one of the things I want to make sure that those of you who are doing things like locally, how you can help you get a merchant account.
Right.
And I think, Bevan, we were talking a little bit earlier. Actually, okay, cool. Muted it. We talked a little bit about how edibles are, to the most part, questionable. Probably not a great idea for your website right now. Smokable vapes are possible, but a little bit harder to get. We went over the basic documents required to, at least to have ready to try to secure a merchant account. What are some of the biggest errors, Marcus, that you see people making when they try to apply? Like, what is holding, like, what are the maybe top couple reasons people get held back when they apply? They're like, I think I have everything in order. I have my website up, or I have my retail business, and then they apply and it comes back with these answers like, you need to fix this or you're denied because of this. What are some of those?
Mainly the website, just missing certain things on there, whether it's the disclaimer, the FDA disclaimer at the bottom, whether or not those 4 states have not been removed in wording, edible, fruity. Only thing I think they allow you to have like edible is for like dog treats. I don't know why, but you can have edible for like if you're selling for animals and things of that sort. They allow you to use the word in that term, or saying, telling or describing how to take it, ingest 2 or take 2 tablets. You can't.
It's like directions,
specifics, yeah, and things of that sort. You can't describe and tell people how to use it and things of that sort. And also any claims of what the product is supposed to do, if it relieves this or,
no medical claims.
No medical claims whatsoever. So those are the top ones that people kind of like fall short on.
Okay.
We see that comes back. And the thing is, I try to get everything and have everybody put everything in a perspective, because they will carry this thing out as long as possible, because they have a lot coming in, and once they say, hey, this is wrong, we go back, we get it fixed, no matter how long it takes. If they can get it done that day and we get the information back over, it's going to take them at least sometimes maybe 2 days to even respond to it. They'll get it, it's there, But by the time they get around to it, it may be like 2 or 3 days down the line. So it does put it off. And then if they have to come back and say, okay, well, they don't have this, they don't have that. And I don't understand, a lot of times they don't come back, honestly, some banks, and just tell you, like, give you a full diagram of like, okay, 1, 2, 3, this is what's missing. They'll come back with one, say, hey, this is not you'll get that fixed, and they'll say, oh, well, this is missing too. So sometimes they just prolong it. That's like 1 or 2 banks that I've dealt with in the past that kind of did things that way. We've kind of like stopped dealing with them on that because we had other options that were better options. But the main thing is like the website requirements and things of that sort are the biggest thing. So that's why we came up with our form. And when we send you that, just go off of that. And everything that's on that form, if it's done on the website, we won't have a problem at all.
Okay. I think one thing that's kind of neat about that too is through Cannaforce, we do have a team of programmers and we can build your websites for a lot less than you're going to pay domestically, but we can work with Marcus and go over all that stuff to make sure when your website goes to get reviewed, he's reviewed it, and we've worked with him to make sure you're not going to have those delays and those holdbacks, because we can work hand in hand to get that going. So
yes, sir.
I'm trying to think of what else interesting we can tell. Again, and it's just like we discussed with accounting and everything. It's all individual basis. I get it. So I see Bevan pop back on. Did you have a Bevan question?
Yeah, so I have a question. Is there any expectations or like predictions in the industry when we'll get proper banking?
That's something that I've been looking into. They're saying they're trying to have something maybe by the second quarter, end of the first quarter, second quarter of 2021, from what I've been hearing. A lot of the banks have been pushing for it. But I do have a listing that I can get over to you. You can post on Cannaforce, and also of a food. I have maybe about, I think the last I checked, maybe like 7 banks that are taking CBD hemp and setting up business accounts, and also, just regular accounts and things of that sort, but mainly the business accounts for the CBD marijuana hemp industry that we've been doing very well with. They're not overzealous as far as minimums and things of that sort, opening amounts. I've had some banks that, it came back, you got to put 10,000 in there and things, but these are just regular accounts, and these banks are just open to welcoming the industry in there. So I'll get those over to you sometime. I get it over probably like Monday or Tuesday, and you can post those. And this is where people can go to get their accounts open and things of that sort, because that's one big thing that we've run into also, that if you open a regular checking or a business account and you have CBD in the title, hemp in the title, they're gonna dead it. Your bank, is gonna dead that.
Too, a lot of the states are now, I believe this year, they're going forward with the legislation to do pilot banking programs within states. And those are more so states where cannabis is legalized, because it's a cash industry at this point. But I think we're going to see in the next year a bunch of stuff open up, which hopefully helps with that's one question I did have for you as far as, and again, I know I talked with the insurance earlier and the accounting, everything is based on individual stuff with your rates and stuff. But can you give us a general range and talk of rates that get taken, so people can kind of start planning, like what percentage is going to get taken out for my credit card in general? Everybody could be higher, could be lower, I get it, but and what potentially besides that, talk a little bit about holding. I'm trying to think of the correct financial term right now, but you know how they'll hold so much, a percentage of your money for 30 days,
a reserve, like a rolling reserve.
A rolling reserve. And then also the difference between offshore or out of country merchant processors versus having somebody domestically in the United States. Because a lot of companies were using companies in Europe or Mexico getting a little bit better rates, but they were holding the reserves. So maybe those areas.
Well, the rates right now, from what I've seen, on an average, they range from like 4.5% to maybe, I've seen it upward of 10% or 12%. We keep ours. We try not to get into ours range anywhere from 4.5 to like 6.5. That's where we try to keep them, because we think it's fair on that end. And usually with that, it's usually like a 20 cents transaction fee. Then of course you have to have your gateway to link to your website and things. Usually gateways run anywhere from $59.99 a month. No, I'm sorry, $49.99 a month to like $99.99 a month. To have a gateway that links your merchant services to your website. And usually on that, and that usually carries like maybe like a 10 or 15 cent transaction for the for the gateway.
Not to interrupt you, but quick on you're talking about the websites. Now, are they requiring what's known as, when you sign up for a lot of your websites, you can also purchase what's called SSL encryption, that kind of stuff. Is that a
Correct.
requirement for the merchant companies? So if somebody's creating a new website, is that something they should?
Really think, yeah, I would do SSL encryption on there.
Okay.
So that's standard, but our gateways, a lot of gateways come with that standard.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about that. They are encrypted. So that's a good thing. Also, as far as like domestic versus the international accounts, international accounts can be good. There's more risk there because you never know who you're dealing with. If something goes belly up, if they don't want to, a lot of, send money back and things of that sort. A lot of that is kind of like tedious to deal with. We have a couple of international options we've been dealing with for about 10 years now that are solid. They're very good. We hadn't had any problems and things of that sort of people being, mishandled or taken advantage of on those. So, they are a viable option on that end, but we've gained so much traction here domestically that a lot of this stuff can be done domestically. It takes a little bit more time and things of that sort. It takes a little time, but it keeps you from having to incorporate, get a, a EU incorporation and things of that sort, setting up banking overseas, and things of that sort. And it can be costly as far as like setup goes on that.
Yeah. I've seen that in the last year, a couple of within the last 2 years, a couple of very large manufacturers. I'm talking some of the biggest companies. You'd see on your credit card statement where you'd order and it would come back with Mexico or EU. And now they're switching all over back to domestic. So I think as the industry progresses, so will the
bringing them back
processing.
Right. And that's the biggest thing, but they are a valuable asset to have as far as international and viable option. We only have maybe 2 or 3 banks internationally that we deal with on that end because we've been dealing with them so long that we trust them. Our clients haven't had any problems whatsoever and things of that sort. And also for the reserve end, usually a reserve is usually anywhere from 5 to 10%. And basically, on certain accounts, usually what they just take that money, they roll it into a reserve. It's your money, but it's their way of ensuring that, if anything happens, chargebacks and things, they're able to pay out. And usually on a reserve, that money sits for about, even after a closure of an account or you switch, it usually sits for about 3 to 6 months. Once they see certain things, I've seen it. Usually we say 6 months, but I've seen where we're able to get half the money released early because once they see it and a month goes by and there are no chargeback, nobody's coming back and disputing charges and things of that sort. Sometimes they'll go ahead and start releasing those funds back to you on that end. But it's just mainly just the banks and the credit card processor companies securing those themselves in case something goes belly up on that end.
We've talked previously about chargebacks, and there are some services that can be offered, correct, with merchant processing. I don't know if they're third-party vendors or whatnot to help you with those chargebacks.
We do offer a chargeback protection.
Can you tell people kind of what the issue is with chargebacks? A lot of people they might not know that term or how it affects you as a business.
Okay, chargebacks are what we call mainly customer disputes.
Okay.
If sometimes you just have people that get stuff and that's just what they do. It's kind of like a scam, and they call their bank and they dispute the charge and things and they want their money back, but they have the product. Then you have some companies that, just mishandle certain things. Like I said, if you have a disclaimer and I buy a product and the wrong product comes or I never receive it, it gives me that option to contact, once I've reached out to the company and things of that sort and I can't get any resolution, it gives me that option to contact my bank or my card company and dispute that charge. So that's what they call a chargeback. And usually what they'll do, they'll reach out to the business, the bank, and try to resolve the issue on that end. But it does count against your business and the merchant end as far as how many chargebacks you get, because they'll shut it down. They'll shut it down once they see if a business is not being holding their own to the standards of the Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and Discover standards. They'll shut that account down quick, especially high risk that they only expect maybe anywhere from some of the banks 1 to maybe 2.5% of chargebacks in a month. And it's based on your volume, because you got to think how many sales you're making versus how many chargebacks you have coming back, you know.
Right.
So that can make a huge difference in that. So what we offer is what we call chargeback protection. And it's not at every bank, but we have a lot of banks that deal with it. And it's basically branch by branch, just because it's we have some Bank of America, not every Bank of America takes part in it. You know, Chase Manhattan takes part in that program, but we do have over, I want to say maybe like 2,500 banks or more, 3,500 banks or somewhere in there. I think it's 3,500 banks that do participate in it. So what happens with the chargeback program? Whenever a dispute comes through, whichever these banks or some credit unions and things of that sort, what'll happen is we'll get an alert. So, and you'll get an alert. They let you know that this customer, and it shows the transaction number and things of that sort, the date, the customer name and things of that sort. You'll get that alert, and it gives you a chance to kind of contact that customer and smooth it over. However it can be, if it's something needs to be replaced or things of that sort, before that chargeback hits the credit card processing company and gives a bad mark against your company, or, you know, for a resolution. Now, what we do, even in a case of a chargeback on our end, we never just refund the money. We'll contact you first, your business first. We'll let you know this customer has this complaint, this is the problem. And we ask for documentation. So if you have if you can pull that order showing the date and things of that sort, if you have an invoice or anything like that, we ask for that documentation. We get it over to the credit card company. They take a look at it, and if it's viable, they don't, you know, you don't have a chargeback issued against you whatsoever. And sometimes they'll come back and say if it's something as far as like the person having the wrong product, or something that came out was supposed to get a 6-ounce something and they sent the 3-ounce, and I've been reaching out to them, and it's something as simple as that they'll have you go ahead and just take care of it and things of that sort without having that mark against you and things of that sort. So but the chargeback program, it catches that before it hits the actual processor, and even goes that far where they don't even have to step in and say anything. So it gives you that protection. And I have a listing of those certain banks and areas and things of that sort that I can get over, but it gives them a chance. And usually with those, they usually range about anywhere from $20 to $35 an alert.
Okay.
On those. But the thing is, it's
like an extra insurance policy, kind of.
Yeah, it's well worth it. It's well worth it. So that option is very, very good for anyone that's in this high risk industry. And it works wonders for, you know, like I say, the marijuana, hemp, CBD. One of the biggest ones that benefit from collection agencies. They benefit from it hugely once we started doing that. So it helps them, it keeps money in their pocket on that end, because paying anywhere from $25 to $35 for an alert, and you had a $500 transaction. I mean, it's like, okay, yeah. So on that end, but usually on that end, we get it back and we get the information from you. You just send over the documentation that you have. We get it over. They take a look at it, and if it's valid and things of that sort, you don't even have to worry about it. They rule in your favor.
Nice. I was gonna say, if you if you're shipping around products and you won't replace them, like, you deserve to get dinged. You know what I mean? As a company, you got to do the right thing.
Right.
But you're right. There are people out there that they literally make a living out of ordering stuff, saying they didn't receive it, or it's defective, or they'll just try. Like, it's kind of the norm from what I've seen in all industries. People are not always the nicest. So, like I told people before, getting an accountant or an insurance policy covers yourself. Like, getting that added onto your credit card, as much as you say I might have to pay this much per dispute, it may save your merchant processing service from not getting shut down if you have.
That's the thing about it. It saves that account from being shut down, because once you're shut down from that, you have to think about the longevity of it.
Yep.
And being shut down for chargebacks is a big no-no in the industry. You'll catch it that's when you'll probably have to go internationally.
Because you guys have a database too in the industry, right? Kind of like insurance companies have for people.
Correct. Yeah, they know. Yeah, they know. Once you're shut down for chargebacks or fraud, or they know. It's in the database, and anytime they run that business name, that tax ID number, even your name or social, it's been companies, if they run it under that address, they know that it's been shut down. So, you know, because I've had a company that moved in and basically did the same thing as the other company. They didn't even want to open the account till we proved that it wasn't just someone else that just came in and, you know, running the same thing for the company and just changed the name and things of that sort. They didn't even want to deal with the address, but we got to the bottom of it and got them open and things of that sort. So,
See, and that's the thing, guys. Marcus will help you with your problems because as long as you stay in business, he's staying in business too. So he's going to help you. Like, you're not just going to sign up for a service, like you order something, the service, and it comes to you and it works. Then if you have a problem, you have nobody to reach out to. Like,
right. It's not beneficial to us. Like I said, if you have a problem, that means I have a problem. My company has a problem. So we try to make sure that we stay ahead of the game on things. That's what I do. I try to foreshadow and look at things ahead of it. And I monitor personally a lot of our accounts and things of that sort. If I see someone going up in chargebacks, I'll place a call and like, hey, you know, this is going up, you know, so maybe, you know, if it's something like in sales, maybe you have to retrain or just hold a meeting with your sales staff and say, hey, you know, I'm noticing this spike in this because once it's shut down, and they're gonna just shut it down, and it's gonna be hard to get another one open, just depending on what the problem was.
and that could affect any other business you're opening, right? Let's say you want to open a
Oh yeah,
you're screwed. You're now in the database
in that database, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Bevan, can you still hear us?
Yeah, that was wow. Thanks so much, man. That was really well. And those here are say thank you because information you just put out there, a lot of them had no idea. So thank you so much.
Oh yes, sir.
Hey, how can we contact you, Market, or not us? We know how to contact you.
Okay.
How can a consumer or somebody starting a new business, or if people have questions and want to utilize your services, what's the best way to get in touch with you besides on our Cannaforce business section?
You can look us up at www.mm- like the minus sign merchantcardservices.net, and we have a contact form on there that comes to our email, or you can look us up on like Instagram at MM Merchant Services, and we just come into our inbox and we actually or comment on one of the posts, and we'll have an agent or someone, or I'll reach out personally. I like to reach out to a lot of our clients personally,
Right.
and especially from anyone that's referred and comes from Cannaforce. I try to deal with you guys directly.
This is true.
So that's the thing. So I deal with a lot of our clients directly coming from you guys.
And I think we mentioned earlier too, Bevan, how the websites we can help. Cannaforce can help people make sure their websites are compliant and build them for them at affordable prices. And we work hand in hand with Marcus to evaluate. So when you get to presenting your application to the merchant processing services, you already know your website's taken care of, because I think that's one of the number one killers of.
That's the biggest thing right there, that website. I'm telling you, because the application, I can kind of deal with that once they send the application. If it's missing something, we can, we catch that before we even submit it to underwriting. So we can look at that and say, hey, we need this, this, and this. But once it goes to that website, and once they come back and look at that website, that's the biggest killer as far as slowing things down. It doesn't rule you out, it just slows down the process. So, like I said, we have that form. Whenever we send out an application now, we send that form out with the, stating with everything that's needed with the application packet. And then at the bottom, we have our website requirements that are listed right there.
Yeah, I want to add lastly that Mark is very responsive compared to some of the others we've dealt with, where they take a week or two to get back just for like a simple question. Marcus and his team is on top of everything. So really, really grateful. And so we got a little bit of time here, but Marcus, thank you so much, brother, man. I'll reach out to you later. But I'm grateful that you took the time to educate.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate the opportunity, and I love what the platform that you guys are creating for not just myself, but everyone in the industry, and it's very informative. And we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, brother.
All right, you guys have a great weekend. Y'all be safe.
Hey, you too.
All right.
All right. So I'm gonna play that video that I was playing earlier until my computer crashed. And so thank you guys for all the patience and for anything and questions. Keep the questions coming. Thank you so much. All right. So let me open this up. And my Zoom is acting up. See, things that happens. And so those of you who do these things live, one of the things that I like right now I can't because of Apple. Like if I was like my anxiety was like going off, I would have been freaking out right now, which I've done in the past. And so there's like a couple of this like I think 5 or 6 events I've done. And so it happens. So just make sure you take your CBD.
Hi guys, this is Bevan and Mike here with Cannaforce, great CBD reviews and CBD.how. And today we are going to be talking to DB Labs regarding some issues that have been recently made public regarding heavy metals and lead in CBD products. So first, we'd like to introduce Ben Chu, director of DB Labs here in Las Vegas, Nevada, who has done some work into this issue. So thank you, Mr. Chu, Dr. Chu, Ben Chu, for taking time today to talk to us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So in the recent several months, more specifically in July, some publicity has been brought about heavy metal testing in hemp and CBD products, mainly in oils and tinctures, things like that. Some of it came back and was publicly made aware that the graduated droppers, so for those of you listening, the droppers that are marked like 0.25 milliliters, 0.5 milliliters, so the droppers with numbers on them so you can measure your dosage. They found that some of those had lead in the paint or heavy metals in the paint. So Ben, could you tell us a little bit more about your experience with kind of into this, some insight, I guess, basically?
Yes. So one of the tests that we run is for heavy metals. So we look for mercury, cadmium, lead, and arsenic in the products. And there's a couple sources of where this comes from. It could be from when the hemp is grown, if those metals are in the soil, or if they're in the water that is used, or possibly the nutrients if you're adding that into there. Those are your sources of where this could be coming from in the plants. And then when this goes for extraction, there is a chance that can come out into your extracts, into your oils, and then on into your final product. So there are limits that a lot of states have put in place for the marijuana industry, and so a lot of those have been sort of just used in the CBD side of things on the hemp side. So at least there was some sort of reference as to what some portion of the government has said is really safe level. So and a lot of times we will screen materials, and sometimes you see it in there, sometimes you don't. So if it's been cleaned at that point, then it gets bottled, and at that point again, it can be tested at that point. And that's where we run into this with a few times where a customer sent us a sample from their bulk tank where they made the material. They sent us a sample of that. We screened it. It looked perfectly fine. And then later on, we said, okay, well, here's the final product. And suddenly we were hitting a very high levels of lead onto there. So it happened a couple times as we started to trace back, to when they pulled the sample, things like that, and we kind of got that more of that information onto it. It started to lean more towards the packaging materials. And where they're sourcing these packages from, a lot of it are coming from foreign countries. And ideally, if they've done their homework, they should get a certificate of analysis, from that packaging material as to what is in there. Not every one of them will run heavy metals. So that was one of the issues that we had. Said, hey, can you show us the, your certificate of analysis for the droppers? And they sent something in and they say, well, we didn't test for this. So what we ended up doing was we took the dropper and we took a little razor blade and we scraped off a little paint there, or we just took the whole glass dropper part of it and did some extractions off of there as well as we could. So our instrument is only really designed, or our analysis is only really designed for looking at the metals. You have to do a full, very strong acid digestion of this to be able to pull out those 4 heavy metals. So that's one of the assumptions that it is present either in the flour or in the concentrate. So when it comes on paint or on something else like that, when it doesn't completely digest, so we could give a it has 3% lead or something like that. It's a really accurate number in there. But if we picked it up at all from there, we saw a pretty good peak for that in response to the lead in there. And so that just told us, yes, they're using a lead-based paint. So the best we could tell them, but we couldn't give them an exact numbers on there. But that's something that when people are ordering these packaging materials, they really need to start looking out and watching out for things like that.
All right, sounds good. I know COA after COA, it sounds like it's going to. My one question was, in your opinion, I know you guys, I'm not sure if you've done this test or not, but once the tincture, oil, distillate, whatever you want to call it, is put into the packaging and a dropper is put in there that, let's say, has a high content of lead, any idea or possibly future tests to determine how long it takes for that lead to leach out and get into the product? So, for example, if you made a new product today, now maybe in 6 months your level of lead would be at a toxic huge level, but the first month when they test the oil by itself, it's not, so you're not going to see it. Is there any research into that yet, or is that kind of it seems like it's a new frontier kind of into this ordeal? But
Right. Unfortunately, that is very difficult to predict. It depends on a lot of things. It depends on what form that lead is in. And then it also depends on what it's soaking in. And this is where you get into, it's in the chemistry. And it's pretty much, like dissolves like. So oil and water do not mix. And, if you have, basically a mixture of oil and water, they're going to stay pretty much separated onto it. You're not going to extract out the oil into the water phase there, or anything else that's in there. So whatever form that lead is in, and that's something we don't know exactly what form it is in, it may want to stay in a water phase, it may want to stay in an oil phase. And depending on what that actual compound of lead is, it's going to determine that. And so that makes it really hard to predict, or to get a general guideline that's of what you have, which is what's going to happen onto there. So unfortunately, that's a question that can honestly only be answered with experiments. And that will depend every time on the matrix that you put into there. Are you putting in a tincture that is, an oil-based tincture, or are you putting in something that's an alcohol-based tincture? So those would give very, very different extraction properties to that.
all right, so I guess to be safe, probably test your droppers before you put anything in the bottle, it sounds like. So
Yes, I think that's a good idea, or at least get someone to certify, the manufacturer to certify that they're not using a lead-based paint on there.
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you for being here and just talking to our audience. Have you heard anything from other labs or other states that this is becoming a problem? And if you haven't, as this time goes on, do you have any thoughts on if local authorities or maybe the feds will bring some kind of guideline on how to deal with the situation?
So again, unfortunately, because of the very nature of this product, it's, for the marijuana side of things, there are no federal guidelines because it's federally illegal. So the federal government is not going to step in to say anything about this. If it is a safety issue, they may want to deal with it, but they're kind of leaving that to each individual state for that. And so then when you get into the CBD side of things, there's very little regulations from the states right now on this. So certain, we do send reports to the Nevada Department of Agriculture for any company that is based in Nevada here. In addition, if any CBD producer wants to sell through a Nevada dispensary, then they have to follow all of the marijuana requirements onto there. So then that's when that side of things would would take a look at those reports. But from my understanding, most states right now are primarily been interested in the residual THC that's in the CBD products. And that's what they've been primarily concentrating on. So unfortunately, I'm not certain if too many states are looking that closely at that. I do know a couple of states have made requests that certain tests be run. But if we're not based in those states, so it is up to the clients who get these reports back to be reporting back to those states as to what they want on there. So unfortunately, it's just when we say we thought marijuana was the Wild West, CBD is a real Wild West out there right now, where it is hard to find any regulations out there, even at the state level.
No,
Thank you.
absolutely. So, no, thank you so much for informing us and the audience about this, and more so for informing the businesses. A lot of people don't know about this, the packaging, and we also wanted to comment that through DB Labs and through Cannaforce, we can help set you guys up with getting your graduated droppers tested, which would be a great idea to do before you go and make about 10,000 bottles and find out later there's lead in your droppers. So you guys have somebody sends in their graduated droppers. Is there a time frame? Is it about a week to 2 weeks now or something like that, or?
It's probably somewhere between 3 to 5 days.
Okay.
So.
All right, we weren't sure with scraping, it's a little bit harder process to manually take all that stuff off, so that's cool.
Yeah, if you send us the whole item, we can probably do that, just info. And again, it's gonna be just, hey, is there lead present or not, which I think
Okay.
is good enough, as opposed to, an exact number of, 3% lead or 5% lead, which doesn't really matter. As long as there's lead in there, then it's going to be a problem.
Right. How many droppers, I would say, would you like them to send in? How, quantity-wise, to get a fair overview of that?
Probably 2 or 3, just so we can, run a confirmation just in case we did pick up something. So.
Okay. Devin, did you have any more questions?
This is great. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, we would like, thank you so much. And we'd also like to give a big thank you to Ben Werner over at DB Labs, who helped set up this interview. He's always been very helpful, and he's the one that you guys will be potentially dealing with lab tests through Cannaforce. I'd just like to remind the viewers and the listeners that, doing a heavy metals test on your graduated droppers and your packaging, the cost of that is going to way outweigh the cost of a lawsuit. If you're using a dropper you don't have a COA on or whatnot, it does test heavy metal positive, you're gonna have all your products recalled by the FDA, you're out all that money, and this could simply be avoided now by running one more test. So I'd rather, be safe than sorry if I was in that position. So we thank you once again. Ben, we really, really, really appreciate it. Could you give us a little bit of just, if somebody wanted to reach out to your labs, what would be the best way to do that?
I'd say just check out our website, which is www.dblabslv.com, and all of our contact information is on there.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being on the call. Devin, did you have anything else?
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, DB Labs. That was some really great information. And so I want to take this time to thank our wonderful sponsors for who we will not be able to be here today. First off, I'd like to thank Choices RVA for allowing us to use the space here and being this wonderful partnership when it comes to education, because you guys know me, I'm all about education. I like to be in the middle. And so thank you so much for the support. Also, thank you, the CBD Haven, located in Chicago, Illinois, for sponsoring. Thank you so much for Pura Cura CBD, located in New Jersey, for sponsoring. And also thank you so much for Hemp Tours, those of you who like to visit hemp farms and get connected in the community in Austin, Texas. They're also looking to expand into other cities in Texas. Hemp Tours, thank you so much. And then lastly, Cosset Wellness, thank you so much, Cosset. One of the things we like about Cosset is that they're prices are affordable for those of you who are on a limited budget, like nurses. Prices start around 40 to about $60 on average. And so thank you so much, Cosset. And lastly, we want to thank All Soil Hemp. I'm going to play a video in a second. So those of you who want to get into farming and want to learn about farms, I'm excited to watch this video and to show you guys. And anything else?
One really quick question, Bevan. Hey, do you know if we can add, I think we're going to try to do this, guys. We'll add links to our sponsors later on in some posts, and potentially when this video gets posted live to YouTube, if we can add in some links, we'll try to do that so you guys can contact all those sponsors, because it's people like them that make these events possible. It's people like, I'm going to say people, but it's companies like those that are investing back into the community. They're promoting education. They're not just opening a franchise store, selling you a bunch of products that aren't tested to make a quick buck in their pocket. They're there to help you. In essence, they are providing education to you by sponsoring programs like this. The hemp tours, they're providing education right there. I'm sure these other companies, if you have any questions, would be very willing to answer them. So we'll try to figure out the best way to post links, and we truly believe in these companies and fully endorse them as somebody you should utilize for your products, education, and tours.
Yeah, man, that's nothing else can say about that. But yes, the video will because of some of the hiccups, our team will slice up all the videos and then put them individually, and also make sure that the sponsors get their due attached to the videos. So I'm really, really grateful. You guys know me. I'm very, like, for everything that the community has been doing for us. Means a lot for especially everything I've been through over the past 4 or 5 years. And so I'm really wanting to say thank you. All right, so let me start this video here.
You guys are going to love this one. This is a very good company.
Hello everybody, this is Chris Resby with Old Soul Hemp Co. We're here to show you around our farm a little bit. It's a first really cold day here. It's 32 degrees, so we're a little funneled up, but let's walk around and show you around. So this is our farm here in beautiful Fallon, Nevada. We are a small boutique CBD hemp farm. As you can see, we've got a lot of agricultural land around us that we farm. We do some crops outside in smaller batches, but let's walk around into the greenhouse. So we're going to head into one of our booths right now this farm. We're actually in the process of harvesting the soup. Alright, so here we are in one of our booths. We're currently in the process of harvesting this. We've harvested a little pathway so that we can get in there. As you can see, this soup is pretty big. They got pretty tall on us. We like to keep them a little bit shorter than that, but sometimes you can't control everything. And so let me show you around. So here's what we're doing here, and this is how an Old Soul Hemp Co. how we like to do it. We've tried many different things, and this is the way that works the best for us. How we first start our harvest is we start pulling off all of the fan leaves, and we try and get the entire stem of the fan leaf all the way down to the main stem. That eliminates crow's feet, saves us a little bit of time later. So we go through, we meticulously pick off as much as we can, and then we move on to the next phase. Once we've picked off the leaves, then we spear them off, and you can see Terry here, she's cutting them down, and we put them in our bins, and then we go and wrap them in the drying room, which we'll show you later. But so let's walk around the shoot a little bit and show you around. Come on down here. This is what my team does. As you can see how tall they've gotten here. Normally, we don't like them this tall. It makes it so we have to work on ladders to get that stuff. But we're pretty proud of this run. This strain right here is magical. This is one that we run a lot. It's a very good producer for us, produces good results. The quality of the bud is really great. As you can see, the tritone content is really high. The calyxes are swelling really nice. We'll probably be harvesting this within the next week. But come on down here and I can show you more of what it looks like after we CBD and kind of how. A lot of times we have to stuff in that here. It's kind of fun. So here's a section that we started de-leaching. As you can see, a lot of the big families have been taken off. We can't get them all off. It's just not possible. You do, too much kind of damage to the bud. But we get as much off as we can. And as you can see, once we do that, then they really start drooping and they're having a hard time holding themselves up. We let that go for a couple of days before we then harvest them in normal circumstances. And we just like to give it a little bit of extra stress factor right before we harvest, push the plant to its full maximum potential. Here in the hoops, we have to run dehumidifiers almost all the time, especially once it starts getting cold outside. The humidity levels rise in the hoops, and so we can control that. Look at this one. That one looks pretty good. Oh no, it's looking pretty good in here. So let's go through to another hoop that we have, and I'll show you what we got going on with it. All right, and here we are in one of our other hoops. This variety in here is one of our flagship varieties. This is called Kush. We've grown this variety for several years. We won some cannabis competitions with this variety. As you can see, these plants are much smaller. We trim them up pretty tight. And these guys in here, I think that they probably have about another 2 weeks is when we'll start de-leaching these and getting ready for harvest. And then we'll do the same process as we do in the other hoop and just keep going. Right, and let's head into one of our drying rooms. And so how we dry our hemp is we dry them on these racks like this. We've tried many different methods. What we've seen for racking it as opposed to hang drying it, we've seen really no significant difference in the quality of the bud. At the end, we can dry a lot more flower in smaller space this way. And so this is how we do it. And here's Linda here. And Linda, why don't you tell us about what we do?
Well, after we cut the colas, you bring them in here to lay them on the racks. And there's a side of the cola that we lay it down on. We call it our sunny side up. So this, you can tell the leaves are kind of more flattened and it looks, you know, it's like the bottom part of the cola. And so this is partly lay flat on the racks here. So that's not the better looking side, and if you know get smashed from the better pretty part of the body.
And so you do this entire thing. How long does it take to do all of this?
Well, this whole thing in here today, probably about 4 racks. It's about a day.
Okay. And as you can see, they look really pretty on the racks, especially when they're lined up all nicely. And as Linda said, you know, we even spent a lot of time in how we arrange them on these racks. They have to be on a particular side to avoid, minimize as much damage as we can this way. And, you know, they stay in here for, you know, anywhere from 5 to 10 days, depending on the environmental conditions in here, how hot it is, how much humidity. We do them in these rooms like this that we insulate so that we can control the environment. We can heat this room, we can cool this room, exhaust this room, circulating fans. You know, this type of setup works out really well for us. All right, so here we are in our trimming room. Once we have the buds have been dried, what we do at that point is we pluck the buds from the main stems. Once those buds have got to the right moisture content level for our trimming machines, they then go in these machines. We kind of cure them in bins. Sometimes it's a week to 2 weeks before they even go through the trimming machines. And then once they're done with the trimming machines, we cure them even further. And we also go through and do a hand finishing job where we take off crow's feet, any remaining stem, any weeds that the machines that get. The type of machines that we use, we've got several of these machines. We've only got 3 set up in here, but we've got others in another trimming as well. This is kind of a gentle, dry trimmer. Kairos is the brand that we use. We've tried several different machines, tumbling machines with large fans on them, and we've just found that this gives us the look that we're looking for. So we pretty much exclusively use this method at this point. I can kind of show you how these work. They're real easy, which makes it nice for us. You set your certain paddles at the right height that you want them to be. You set your timer of how long you think the run is going to need to go, and then you just close it up and off it goes. And while, you know, one person will be working on this machine, get it going, and then move to the next machine, and we just constantly keep these things going all the time. We do have to clean them several times a day, depending on how much material we're running through them. But yeah, this is our process. And then once they're done, you can open them up, you check them into your bins, you collect it as you go. And then, like I said, we will cure these bins, will be full of material. We'll cure these bins for a couple weeks more. We'll flake them, slowly bleed out the moisture. Then we go through and do our finishing trim and give them that look that really looks like it's been given a lot of care and attention. And that's how we do it. And then I also wanted to show you, since we're in here, another room. So we've gone through the whole process of harvesting and, you know, getting to the finished product. But in here, it's from the very beginning. And in here is our mother room right now. This will be our next crop of mother plants. We're here in late fall, so we're getting ready for a crop that we're going to start a couple months from now. And so these are all of our mother plants. So we've got several different varieties in here. We will grow these plants out to be real big, 4 to 5 feet tall. We'll get, you know, 100 plus clones off of each one of these plants, and these will be what are used to fill all our next tubes coming in a couple of months. Another thing is this is going to be our next round of soil here. How we do it is we do it in 15-gallon pots. We don't have basic nutrients. We use all of our nutrients and compost teas, and what that does is that allows us to continue reusing our soil without the salt content being too high. And as you can see, our farm dog, she just loves to roll in our soil. What we got going on here are these are 2 separate piles. This was from a batch, I think earlier this spring. We've been recharging it all summer. We'll add more perlite to it, another pumice stone. This is another pile that we're working on. You know, it still needs to break down a little bit. You know, these should be ready for our springtime crop. Water these in, we compost seed. We cover them up for the winter. We'll add, we've got on a tarp back there, other compost that we got here from soil. We'll plant that in soil. We test these soils before we add anything to it to see where we are, if we're too high in any nutrients or too low in any nutrients. And if there are any other problems, we want to detect them up front. So we will test these before we even start adding anything to it. And we just continue reusing the soil and recycling it this way throughout the year, all year long. All right, so here's another thing I want to show you guys. This is one of our wood spots. It's kind of warm in the winter. We try to keep these as long as we can, but we pretty much go all composted material in here. These were cucumbers that just got too big. Our bags of nutrients we put in here, coffee grinds, you know, anything. The worms kind of love it. And if you can see, you just dig down, not even very far. There are a ton of worms in here. Yeah, it must be a little bit down for this. It's so cool. Here we go. We're starting to get into them. See, these guys are red wigglers here. They are a little bit cold, which is why they're not moving around as much. But these are general composting worms. And they basically eat everything and turn it into dirt. And that concludes our little tour. Thank you for stopping by. We'd like to extend a great thanks and appreciation to Bevan and Mike, the CBD.how, and Great CBD Reviews for all the love and support that they promote. Thank you, and I should be around to answer any questions for about 10 minutes or so.
Nice. Wow. That was awesome. That was a really good tour. I know the guys here are excited to see this, see the potential. Those of you who want to grow, that's the potential. And those of you who want to grow a home, you have the potential as well. And those are some of the things we'll be teaching you guys as well. Fun fact, I've grown before. I love it. It's reminds me of being in the Caribbean and just being in the garden. And so I'm excited to be a part. I know Mike is as well, to teach you guys how to grow and connect with farms. And those who are more experienced, Mike has a video on nutrients that we are working on. And as soon as we get that finished edited, we'll be posting it as well.
And you know what? I think Old Soul Hemp is probably in the YouTube chat right now. If anybody has any questions, I think they're going to try to make it today. If they're in the YouTube chat, can you guys write something to me in here, just like we're here? And if you are, then we could ask you guys some questions.
Nice. And so I'm really appreciate everybody with the hiccup. It's 2:30. Ryan just jumped into the chat, and so we're gonna get ready to talk to Ryan. Ryan, my camera is not working, so so please apologize on my end. But I'm really thankful. Can you tell everyone a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. I am in-house counsel for IKNK Brands. IKNK Brands is basically a portfolio of cannabis and hemp brands, or marijuana as it's defined under federal law, and hemp brands. Our CBD brand is Iconic Life, and we have some manufactured products coming out. So I've, in addition to being general counsel, I'm the director of compliance. So I've been through the gambit of hemp and hemp CBD compliance, and hopefully we can give people some information that's practical and useful to take away.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I've connected with Ryan, I believe a year and a half ago, Ryan, right? When I first started. Yeah, it's been a while. When I first started, actually our first live production, we did it in Aaron from Bailey CBD in his garage out in Long Beach. I was in California, and we just started off on a whim, you know, just us guys in there trying to push through and network. And you know, Ryan ended up just came in. I can't remember how it happened, but you know, I'm really grateful. And over the years, Ryan has been a really good resource when it comes to compliance and sharing information online. So I'm really, really excited that he's here to help educate everyone.
I'm excited as well.
Yeah, so can you talk a little bit about when it comes to compliance, at least from the cannabis side, the marijuana side, because end of the day, it's one plant, and we feel that a lot of the compliance that goes into cannabis will eventually come to hemp. So can you give us a little background on how that works, and like maybe like a day-to-day of what you do?
Yeah, no, for sure. So as it stands right now, marijuana, as it's called under federal law and the Controlled Substances Act, is a Schedule I substance at the federal level. But as I'm sure everybody's aware, you're seeing states left and right now legalize in spite of what federal law says. I think if it came down to it and the feds really wanted to press the issue, I mean, they could definitely take the position that federal law preempts state law and enforce the Controlled Substances Act under federal law and kind of crack down. We have protections in place to stop that from happening. Within the congressional spending bill, there are rider protections that protect against state medical programs, and I think they've actually extended it to adult use / recreational programs. And what that does is it says that the Department of Justice cannot expend money on prosecuting states that have those programs in place, assuming that the operators are actually in strict compliance. President Trump has taken, wavering positions in terms of whether or not he has to acknowledge those rider protections, but that's, essentially the world we live in, because I mean, ultimately the question becomes, if it's illegal under federal law, how do we have states legalizing it in spite of that? And that's, one of the answers. The other answer is that ultimately, even if the feds wanted to enforce federal law, and this actually will apply to the CBD discussion we'll have, ultimately they need state and local cooperation and resources. The feds just don't have the resources unilaterally on their own to enforce the Controlled Substances Act. So that's why you're seeing things play out the way you have with marijuana, and you're actually starting to see the same thing kind of shake out on the hemp CBD end of things, because the FDA is dragging their feet in terms of getting regulations out. So you're seeing states quote unquote legalize or come up with regulatory structures in the hemp CBD space as well, in the same way they have with cannabis. But as far as my day-to-day when it comes to marijuana, i.e. cannabis with more than 0.3% THC, my day-to-day is typically focused on our distribution operations in Southern California. We service the entire state, so there's any number of compliance challenges when it comes to that. We have retail and cultivation coming on in the coming months, so that'll be fun. A lot of it has to do with monitoring track and trace, which is our seed to sale tracking system in California, which basically tracks the movement of product from point A to point B to point C. So my day-to-day is overseeing, just making sure we're playing by the rules and making sure we keep our nose clean.
Nice, thank you. So I have a question that's kind of funny. So when it comes to compliance, do you have a story of like a company breaking the compliance? Do the feds like rushing with the guns, and handcuffs blasting like you see on TV?
Oh, well, you know what's happening, and this is, it's as actually, if there's, especially if you have any interest in getting into like the regulatory end of things, I think one of the issues that you see with, you know, regulations being promulgated is there's usually a disconnect between the person that's writing them and that person having industry experience and, you know, knowing how things really end up playing out. So I came from the criminal defense realm. I probably tried no less than 15 cases to verdict related to cannabis, and I've tried over 25 cases to verdict with other, you know, crimes, we'll call them, right? But so I've kind of come from this world, but what has happened in California specifically in terms of compliance violations is, you know, criminal organizations are essentially either getting licensed or are just using the license numbers of licensed entities and operating under the guise of that in order to access regulated product and just sell it on the black market. So that's the biggie. But you see, I mean, the more realistic or the more common violations, it's usually nothing like nefarious or even intentional. A lot of it, it's such an overregulated system state to state that I think by and large, when people find themselves in trouble, it's really more of just being ignorant to a rule that they didn't know about, more so than it is this intentional act and people, you know, trying to skirt the rules. But the biggest one I've seen, and it's come out pretty, there's actually, I think, a federal investigation into it right now, is basically black market operators operating under people's licenses and just basically taking legal regulated product and selling it on the black market. So that is the biggie right now, and I think you'll see that play out state to state.
When that happens with a black market, using someone else's name, does that hurt the brand? And is there any protection for that brand that's being taken advantage of?
Yeah, I mean, I think any brand, be it a cannabis brand, or I should say a marijuana, I hate, just to back up for a second, hemp is cannabis, marijuana is cannabis. So it drives me crazy. And you know, when people even call something cannabis when they're referring to marijuana, or call something cannabis when they're referring to hemp, because it gets confusing. It's you know, just a different varietal of the plant. People do not like using the marijuana phrase because it has, you know, racist undertones and a racist history, and I get that. So just for the purposes of this call, I'm going to use the term marijuana to refer to cannabis that has more than 0.3% THC, just so everybody, you know, kind of knows what I'm talking about when I say it. But I think whether you're a marijuana brand or you are a hemp or hemp-derived CBD brand, you should be looking into trademarking your brand. So I think there is an avenue there in terms of, you know, I see it all the time. Like I've seen like THC infused Nerds rope and, you know, all these like ripoffs of these brands being turned into cannabis brands, and they're usually, or marijuana brands, I should say, and they're usually black market products. So I think the avenue there is, you know, to basically file and sue the perpetrator civilly in terms of infringing on a trademark. But in terms of, you know, the criminal end of things and being associated with that, I don't know that a trademark infringement suit is undoing the goodwill that your brand might have lost by virtue of being associated with an unregulated operator. So that's, you know, something to watch out for, I guess.
Nice. Well, since you brought it up, can you just briefly explain the importance of trademark? I know a lot of people have asked, and if the process, is it like strenuous? Is it a lot of work? Anything you can add to that?
Yeah, no, for sure. So it's super. I mean, trademark is important for any type of business, but it's particularly important for both marijuana and hemp brands, because it's really interesting. You're seeing in both states, you're seeing a patchwork of regulations being developed because there's not movement on the federal level. So like I said at the outset, we have marijuana that's still legal under federal law. And on the hemp end of things, you know, it's really becoming a patchwork of regulations state to state, because the FDA is not coming out with regulations as it pertains at least to food additives and dietary supplements. So I bring that up in the trademark context because it's going to be a battle once we actually do have some uniformity on the federal level, because ultimately you're going to have these state operators that, you know, don't know about, you know, XYZ Inc. in California, and there's another XYZ Inc. in Florida, and another one in Massachusetts. So the question becomes, who wins in terms of when you both start operating across the country? And you're starting to kind of see those fights play out now. But in terms of what people can do to get that protection, I would first, if you're a cannabis or a marijuana brand, look into whether or not your state offers a trademark process. So in California, you can actually get a California state marijuana trademark. You're limited as far as the classes that you can register at the federal level. So, and to kind of even back up a little bit more from that, when you go to register your trademark, it's not like you register XYZ Inc. and here's your trademark. There's certain classes of products and services even that you pick that are relevant to your brand. You're limited as to which classes you can pick when it comes to marijuana on the federal level. But like I said, look into whether or not your state offers trademark at your state level. And the same deal with hemp CBD brands. So you would think hemp, was removed from the Schedule 1 of Controlled Substances Act by the 2018 Farm Bill. That must mean that I can just go buck wild in terms of trademarks at the federal level with hemp CBD. Not the case, because what it comes down to is the classification once again. So like I said, there's different classifications. If your product in the eyes of the FDA is not considered quote unquote legal, so if you add CBD to a dietary supplement or food, there's a strong chance that you're not going to be able to get that federal trademark that you're looking to get in that circumstance. So you need to, in the hemp CBD world, make sure that your product is actually a legal product in the eyes of the FDA. And real baseline practical information, the website that you want to look at is the USPTO website, which is the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And they have really helpful forms on there, and you can do everything online in terms of registering the trademark. But I would look into, ensuring that your product is a legal one when it comes to the hemp CBD products before you waste the time and money in going that route.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. Wow. I did not know that California had its own, trademark. So thank you for sharing that. I know most people probably didn't either. So I have a little quick. I just want to ask you, is there any, as a lawyer, any feeling of when the FDA will come up with the hemp regulations?
Your guess is as good as mine, man. I thought it was going to be out months ago. And it's interesting. I mean, I think a lot of the holdup, at least according to what I've heard, is they're, looking to have enough information to establish that CBD is in fact safe to add to dietary supplements and food. And I mean, there seems to be a decent amount of studies out there. So I don't know what the holdup is in terms of guessing when. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm hoping by the end of the first quarter of next year, but I'm not holding my breath in terms of it happening by the end of this year with the holidays and whatnot, but hopefully I'm wrong on that. But I would hope it would be out by end of first quarter of 2021.
Yeah, we all have a sense too. Some of us think they might just push it through under all the chaos that's going on with the election.
Right.
But it's coming. We all know it's coming. And so I want to go back to compliance real quick. Is there a specific process that you have to go through when you're in compliance, whether it's for hemp or marijuana?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and I just wrote an article about this. I just think about the times that you've actually taken the time to organize your thoughts and outline a research paper versus the times that you just wrote it at the 11th hour the night before it's due. And I've done that more times than I'm willing to mention in terms of the latter. It's kind of the same deal when you're thinking about compliance. You need to sit down and think about the risk that your business faces, right? And it's not only specific to, what type of business you are or the location or, the regulations that you find yourself governed by. It's just ultimately it's the long-term plan as far as what your plan is for your business. So in other words, let's say I am hemp CBD product manufacturer in Massachusetts. And I want to scale across the, the United States, if not internationally. What worries me, I think, just big picture when it comes to compliance, is that the average operator, knows about the FDA regulations, knows the rules and regulations that they have to abide by. But there's a whole host of other issues that they should also be considering in terms of determining risk, in terms of law that needs to be, complied with, such as the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission regulations, and all that jazz. So big picture, when you first start up a company, be it a cannabis or be it a marijuana company or a hemp-derived CBD company, you need to sit down if you have partners, sit down with them and talk about and outline what the risks are that your business will face, because ultimately, a compliance program is only really good if it's comprehensive. And if you kind of just wing it as if you're writing a research paper the night before, you're not going to have great results, from what I have experienced.
Yes, thank you for that. I hope everyone's listening to this. Please do things right. So one of the questions I'd like to ask is California regs. We see that it's changing. California is one of the leading states when it comes to cannabis and compliance. Do you think other states will follow suit what California is doing, or will they go another route? Have you seen anything or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at all the legalized states right now, if we're talking about marijuana, they're all pretty much, they're not the same, but there are more similarities across the regulations than there are differences. One of the significant changes that I hope other states, kind of heed in California is that there originally, and actually currently, there was 3 agencies that regulate cannabis, and it's kind of created, I think, more problems than it's solved in terms of having 3 independent agencies that you have to answer to, depending on what type of license that you have. There can be crossover, I guess is the easiest way to think of it. They're consolidating those 3 agencies into one, supposedly next year, first quarter. Let's see. It's almost like asking about when the FDA regs are going to come out for hemp CBD. I'm not necessarily holding my breath that date is going to remain solid, but I hope it is. So I do hope that, other states, look at California and realize that maybe that's not the best way about, going about regulating cannabis. But, I say that, and then I hear New Jersey has 0 mention whatsoever of social equity, and that the tax language therein was just ridiculous. So logic would tell you that these other states would be looking to other states that have already done it to kind of avoid mistakes that have already been made. But I don't know that that's necessarily what's happening. And it gives you a live look into who's really moving the needle when you're talking about legalizing cannabis in a state, unfortunately.
Nice. Thank you. Any predictions on when, if the country is going to go full legal? Because I'm excited to see how this, all the results from this election, and so next couple of years is going to be interesting.
Well, the entire context of this talk is kind of interesting, because my question has always been, are marijuana and hemp businesses necessarily friends? I don't know the answer to that question, but it kind of leads into the discussion of when are we going to see federal legalization when it comes to marijuana. I mean, the narrative usually is that, we have it's not the House that is stopping a marijuana related bill making it through. It's the GOP controlled Senate. But, the more people I talk to, and the more you read, cannabis or marijuana being legalized really is becoming less and less of a partisan issue, right? So the storyline that, it's a GOP controlled Senate that's stopping, marijuana from being legalized at the federal level. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think, it's just the powers that be that are controlling the Senate, i.e. Mitch McConnell, that may, have more to do with it. And the reason I preface this answer with the question of, are we friends in terms of marijuana and hemp? I understand that Mitch McConnell is obviously from Kentucky, and that I think has maybe a vested interest in hemp. So I question whether that has more to do with the lack of movement in the Senate as much as it does have to do with, any partisan issue, because I think the more people you talk to, the less of an issue it becomes in terms of it being a partisan issue. But the narrative out there, I think I just read an article last week that, it's a Republican controlled Senate, so we're screwed. But I don't know if it's necessarily, the only issue we're facing in terms of marijuana moving on the federal level.
Nice, thank you. That was a good insight. Because a lot of us, especially with current times, are like divisive, with things, and to see that there are a lot of Republicans, because even Boner, the all Republican joined that big group in Canada and board. So there's a lot of people in power, and Republicans are not, who want cannabis. It's big money.
Right. Yeah. I think it's kind of just a convenient storyline, and there's probably some truth to it, and I'm not even just being a contrarian to be a contrarian here. I think it's a more complicated issue than Democrat versus Republican, personally.
Nice, thank you. So I want to switch gears, because I know I promised some people to talk about GW Farmer. And so for those who don't know, GW, their product, Epidiolex, got removed from the schedule.
Right.
And everybody was excited, but for me, it was like a bad sign. Do you have any thoughts you want to share on that?
I have a couple actually, and I'll preface this discussion. I'll leave it in the chat box. My colleague Kathleen Rocco, she works for Hoban Law, wrote an article about GW Pharma, and I think it's called "How GW Pharma Won CBD." I'd recommend people reading it. It's a good kind of, I guess, summary of their storyline in terms of what they've done over the past couple of years. But I think what GW Pharma has done in CBD, and just for everybody's context, I think that one of the higher end stocks in terms of just marijuana stocks is Trulieve, and it's probably, I think the last I checked, it was trading around $24 a share or so. For context, GW Pharma in the last year has traded, I think, as high as $140 a share, and is at about $115 a share. So, they're doing something right. That goes without saying. But I think it should almost send off a warning signal to the industry, because let's talk about what they had to get there, right? I mean, GW Pharma, as you already mentioned, Bavon, is I think the only company that I have heard of in the last decade or so that was successfully able, to convince the DEA to remove their formulation from Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. And that's a really important point too. So, the headlines that came out when it happened was, CBD is removed from Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. It's super important to note that it was Epidiolex, the GW formulation that is, I think, used for grand mal seizure treatment, that was descheduled. It was not CBD, it was the formulation that they had. But the insight that kind of provides, and they've also gotten FDA approval, is, or I guess the question it begs is this kind of a precursor, or has this set the precedent as to how CBD is to be treated in the future going forward, right? So we really have two avenues we can go with this. CBD can be treated as a drug, which is how it's used as an ingredient within a drug as it stands right now in Epidiolex, or we can look at it kind of as a food additive or a dietary supplement. And the reason why you can't currently use CBD as a food additive or in a dietary supplement, at least legally at the federal level, is because CBD is an active ingredient in a drug, i.e. Epidiolex, and I think there's another one. So it kind of begs the question, where are we going with this, right? And if in fact we do go the drug route, what does that do for small businesses that exist today? And I can answer that question for you. It basically wipes everybody out. Because to go the drug route, you're talking millions of dollars in terms of clinical study or clinical trials and whatnot to get to that point, to convince the federal government that you should be allowed to sell that drug to begin with. If it does in fact go the dietary supplement route, you're still talking about a decent amount of regulations that you need to comply with, but it's a more realistic situation for small business. So I think the GW pharmaceutical situation is kind of it's a tipping point for the CBD industry that hasn't, we don't quite have the answer yet. And maybe we'll have more insight if and when the FDA actually comes out with the regs they're supposed to come out with. But it's something people in the industry should be paying attention to.
Wow. So, fun fact, I've always predicted this was going to happen and that the government is going to ban it. It just to see what's coming. I have a question. So my thought is that if you're going to sell isolate, don't, right? And if you do right now, prepare yourself to change. Do you think companies, or what you thought the companies sticking to full spectrum, broad spectrum, or just selling the flower to avoid anything when it comes to CBD isolate itself?
Well, actually, Bivon, you might have been the one that reported this or that I read this from. I have to confirm this, but I do believe that GW Pharma has some patent on the extraction process. So to your point about CBD isolate, that may be very well taken because, you may, if you're operating at the scale to get the attention of a GW Pharma, they may be giving you a phone call and saying you're paying us a 10% royalty on all sales if you want to keep doing that. That's another thing to kind of research, especially if you're a manufacturer of CBD and just you're a supplier of CBD. But I've been needing to look into that too, actually. I'm pretty sure they have some patent on the process, and I think it is a process that is pretty commonly used to manufacture and to create CBD isolate basically. But in terms of what do you do, the first thing that kind of drives me crazy, so we have operations in Colombia, and part of what we do with those operations is we enter into supply contracts to supply pharmaceutical companies as far as just the bulk material. So the one thing I will caution everybody, if you're looking to get into the supply end of things, and this kind of leads into your question about full spectrum, broad spectrum, the whole 9 yards, is make sure that you and the other side are on the same page when it comes to the definitions of what you're talking about. So if I'm talking about broad spectrum, the other side, we both need to be on the same page in terms of what the definition is of broad spectrum and of full spectrum, depending on what the deal is, right? And you need to be very specific about the ratios and the range of error that's going to be acceptable to the buyer, because you don't want to have a situation where you go to sell something, you promise XYZ in the contract, and it ends up being off by 5% or whatever, and the buyer refuses to accept it. So you want to set expectations at the forefront and make sure you're on the same page. In terms of what to do, in terms of do I go with isolate or do I go with broad spectrum, full spectrum? A lot of it to me, first of all, it's an analysis of what the market is asking for. I anticipate that broad spectrum and I anticipate full spectrum to become increasingly popular. I mean, it already is popular, but a lot of people I've talked to, and maybe you could actually shed more light on this than not, a lot of people that I have talked to that are very knowledgeable about just, I guess, the science end of things, if you want to call it that, take the position that, you typically want to have some proportion of THC for the CBD to really work its magic. But I anticipate, especially as we learn more about cannabinoids and as research opens up, that full spectrum and even broad spectrum will become more popular, and maybe from a business perspective might be the stuff to look into.
Yep. So to the patent, yes, they have a patent, and I believe another company actually has another one on the process. And fun fact for those of you watching, the government has a patent on CBD, also on CBG and some of the other cannabinoids. So it's important for you guys to be in the know of it. Hey, Mike.
Hey, I just wanted to comment too, GW also has another patent for buccal spray delivery of buccal cannabinoids. And there's some other companies with extraction ones. So, these large companies, yeah, they're they're ahead of the game already. So yeah, there's a few other ones out there for extractions too, besides GW. So we'll see where it leads in the future. You know, if big pharma wins again with money, or if, you know, America comes to its senses. But I just wanted to add, yeah, the GW already has one for a spray formula to deliver cannabinoids. So I'm guessing that's a general term, Ryan. So maybe that can include THC, CBG, any cannabinoid from the plant. So they kind of cover their butts there by saying spray delivery of any cannabinoid, we're in charge. Like crazy.
Right. Well, I mean, at a certain point, you guys, it becomes a supply and demand game, right? At a certain point, and especially as you see larger companies get into this space, the smaller guys are going to have to figure out a way to differentiate themselves from the bigger guys, right? So if you have all these larger companies pumping out isolate, you need to ask yourself as a business, how am I going to be different? Maybe the answer is finding unique formulations in terms of the broad and full spectrum world to distinguish yourself from the isolate products that are out there.
Yep. And the thought that came to my head was when you said that, there's a common saying in the industry, where everybody's going, you do not want to go. And if companies are dumping isolate, maybe you should avoid, you know, something's coming. And so with that, Ryan, man, I'm really grateful that you took the time to come on here and talk to us. I'm excited to just cut this clip up here and post this. Thank you so much. Before you go, can you tell people how they can find you and a little bit more about Canada Guide?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. So a lot of the stuff that I've talked about, I write about on Canna Law Guide, and that's the handle on Facebook and Instagram. My personal Instagram is just my name, Ryan Kocot, Kocot. And yeah, a lot of this stuff I probably more eloquently write about than I've talked about today. So if you have more questions about compliance, I would check out the Canna Law Guide and the personal Instagram. It kind of has the gist of what I've talked about, but in more explained and thorough terms. So that's where you can find me.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful that we've connected and became friends. And I love following you on Instagram. The content you put out is really great. And so those of you who need help with compliance, you know, I don't know if Ryan may be too busy, but I know Ryan has friends if you guys need help when it comes to compliance. So Ryan, thank you again. Mike, any final thoughts you want to add?
No, I just want to say thank you very much. It's always good to get the insight from the legal industry, and especially somebody who works in the cannabis field in the legal industry and isn't playing backseat quarterback and saying, well, just because you know, I got my JD and I can read the statutes means I'm an expert on it. And it's nice to know that you actually have immersed yourself in the industry. So you know, your opinion goes very far with us. So
yeah, no, and thank you for having me. And I guess I'll close with exactly that. I personally am not in a position to take clients on. I have referrals I can give people if people are looking for it. But what I will say is this: while there's not a ton of attorneys out there that are in-house and are just living this, there are a good amount of attorneys who practice in this area consistently. And you do not want, whether it be it marijuana or hemp, you know, derived CBD type questions you may have, you do not want to be paying someone to learn this stuff. So make sure you vet any consultant or attorney that you're working with and make sure that they actually know their stuff and aren't just, you know, using that label for SEO on Google so that they can make a buck. Make sure they know what they're talking about and that they actually are working regularly in this industry, because otherwise you're literally paying someone to learn the law, and that's not your responsibility. So I will leave you guys with that.
Wow. Thank you, Ryan. Nothing else can be said. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for having me. We'll see you.
Thank you again.
Bye.
And so it's 3 p.m. over on this side. It's been a long 3 hours. I appreciate you guys supporting through the little glitches that we have. The goal here is to continue to do these either once a month or every other month to help you bring on individuals in the industry who can really speak for the knowledge, because Mike and I are just advocates and we're here to help you. And so if there's any things you guys want to ask, or you like us to, people you want to bring on, just reach out to us. We're always here. This is my life. CBD saved me. I know he's done wonders for Mike as well. And so I'm really, really grateful for everything.
And I wanted to add too, over on my Instagram page, CBD Specialist, there's a giveaway with Old Soul Hemp. And I posted that. It's for this variety pack of pre-rolls. And there's a question over there. If you were watching this on YouTube, go over there, check it out. Or if there's no answer when we upload it and replay it, the first answer to that question will get this pre-roll pack mailed out to them, as long as you can verify your legal age. So,
did you want to give anything else out?
You know what I think we'll do? I know Cosset CBD has a new product coming out. I don't have it in front of me. I have one of their labels. They have an immunity product. So I'll post another question, a general question on CBD Specialist. I'll post it today sometime, and it will relate to one of the speakers that we talked about today, and they'll win a bottle of the immunity booster. I'm looking at the label here. It has 20 milligrams of CBD, elderberry, zinc, echinacea, garlic, beetroot, vitamin D, vitamin C, curcumin, bioprene, acai. Has a bunch of stuff in there to boost your immune during the pandemic and every other time of year. But I'll post a question, and they said they'd give away a bottle of that. So we'll have the Old Soul Hemp pre-rolls, and that relates to their video. And I'll come up with some kind of interesting question from one of the other videos to give away a bottle of the Cosset Wellness immunity product today. So be on the lookout for that. Just follow at CBD Specialist, and you'll see that later on. But thank you guys in Richmond so much for showing up and being there. It means the world to us. Thank you, everybody online. We really appreciate you taking your time out today. I know we had a few technical glitches, but that's to be expected the first time. But you know what? You learn from everything, and next time we're going to come back bigger and better for you.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I'm really grateful. I know some of my family is watching this. And so thank you guys again for supporting. Like I said, I'm humbled, I'm appreciative. And so we're going to start hard next week, push out more content. Thank you for following. And we'll split this video up and put it in individual parts and post it for everybody to see. And then once again, if you guys need help, please go over to Cannaforce, www.cannaforce.org, and support us also on Instagram. Thank you so much.
And I wanted to add one last thing. Thank you to all the speakers today for taking time out on Saturday or making the videos. That took even more time to make. That Old Soul Hemp video was amazing. Thank you, Steve, for taking time out of your busy day to let me interview you. Thank you to the people who helped moderate in the YouTube chat, Crystal, Rich, and Robert. We really appreciate you taking your Saturday to help with that. And just thank you, everybody, for watching, keeping an open mind, and keep the hemp in your heart.